All right. Let me know when we're live. Just let me know in the chat. It's like my first time doing this in a while. Um, yeah. Let me know when we're live, when y'all could like see me and everything. I kind of just wanted to do this because, obviously, What's the Dirt is kind of like the leader in these breakdowns when it comes to like really giving y'all the like 2 3 hour breakdowns that these tracks really need. I've kind of always seen my role in this as like the digestible shit. Uh, right after you hear the song for the first time, more for that first impression, like getting the conversation started. But he really takes his time. You know, he could really like give you all those longer breakdowns. So I got a lot of respect for the time and effort that goes into that. Uh, I like just graduated college and like have a full time job. So like, as much as I want to work on like 2 3 hour breakdowns, it's kind of just like not the lane that works for me. And like this guy already knows what he's doing with it. So I was about to sit down and watch this. I said, why not do a live stream, watch it with y'all, kind of get y'all's opinion, share my thoughts on certain parts. Um, I actually like had I could show y'all too. I bet this is gonna get like screenshotted and shit, but I could show y'all. You uploaded the first ass explanation of the diss. Oh, a fire ass. No, so I didn't upload an explanation for Family Matters, and I had the script written and everything. It's just kind of like I don't even have like a good excuse. Like the way I was working on them was like during my finals week period at school, and I had spent all day working on 616. Got to Family Matters, and then like that dropped while I was still working on the 616 one, obviously, and then had to start working on the Meet the Grams one like immediately after. But anyway, I'm yapping right now. Let's just get into like watching this together. I'll give my thoughts. Y'all let me know what you think about this breakdown down below. Um, and yeah, let's let's get into this. 2 hours and 20 minutes. So shout out What's the Dirt for real. Like really takes his time, really puts the effort in. Uh, yeah, let's take a look.
All right, guys. So once
Let me know if you could
again,
hear the
one at a
video
time.
and
If you
if you could
haven't been
hear
paying
me.
attention,
You know. But let's get into it. This is like my first time going on live, like in a while. So let me know if there are any problems.
all right, guys. So once again, one at a time. If you haven't been paying attention, I'm breaking down these records in the order that they were released, which means we're now at Family Matters for Drake. And before I even get started, like you guys do realize that it is very possible to be a fan of two
I'm gonna
artists
speed this
at
up a
the
little
same
bit,
time, right?
but
Like this is
just
indeed
just cause my attention span is like cooked. So, I, if y'all want to watch it normal speed, obviously, go watch the full video on What's the Dirt's channel. But
possible. And I fully understand that I'm not getting any popularity points for giving Drake any sort of compliments for this record. I know for a fact.
yeah, shit. So I saw this, bro. I'm not gonna pause every 2 seconds, promise. But I saw this, and I gotta say, like, it's just coming from someone who like also does these breakdowns. It's a tough situation to be in. I remember when I dropped the Heart Part 6 one, and I don't know, like I was trying to be as objective as possible, and that was like the first ever time I got people both on Kendrick and Drake's side being like, this video is biased as fuck. And obviously like people are really invested in these different artists. They're really like ride or die, and it's a really polarizing beef. Um, but you gotta understand, like, What's the Dirt? He's really just like here to do the best job he can of breaking the track down, and like you can't really come at him like that when he's like the only person doing it in this much detail. Like, unless this video proves me wrong and there is a lot of bias, which I guess this is his opportunity to prove all these people saying compromise wrong. Like, he's putting in this much effort for y'all. This 616 one was just as long. Like, I don't think there are any ulterior motives like this. You know, we're not getting checks from any of these artists, or I don't know. Like, from what I've seen from him, like, I don't see there being like bias or him being paid off or anything. But I guess we'll see.
Any popularity points for giving Drake any sort of compliments for this record? I know for a fact that if I approached his breakdown in a way where I completely all over it, I'd get way better feedback from the audience, but I'd also be lying because Drake does indeed make some great points on this record. And I also truly believe that as the years go by, this breakdown will be appreciated and respected. Now, before we even look at Family Matters, we need to look at what Drake was doing on social media leading up to the track, as he posted several things online. First, Drake posted a photo of his son Adonis looking into a mirror with the caption, "Mirror Time Crody," and this in itself has a couple meanings.
Word.
First off, Drake is directly responding to Kendrick's shots.
Like the N95 scene where he like breaks the mirror too. That's what I'm thinking about right now. But he does talk about mirrors a lot.
Euphoria, where he mocked Toronto slang.
Don't speak on the family, Crody. You can get deep in the family, Crody.
Secondly, Kendrick has mentioned a mirror in several songs throughout his career.
Like
Behind
sing
the
it
mirror,
out
I know what you're scared of. The feeling emotions inferior. Sometimes I look in the mirror and ask
Yeah,
myself, and every day
alright.
that glass mirror get tougher to watch.
However, the more obvious reason for Drake's reference here was with respect to a track on Mr. Morale called Mirror, and this was the outro of the album where he touches on things like self-reflection and internal growth.
Okay.
Not about to try who's wrong. Evolve the only thing known.
We also got an Instagram post from Kendrick's fiance Whitney where she says,
Yeah, so this is what I like about What's the Dirt. Like, he doesn't even just start with the song. Like, he starts with, like, you know, what came before it, and like all the context around it. So that's definitely something to take it as an example. But
sometimes the mirror is a harsh critic. Shit can get real ugly. I'm proud of the work we've done individually and as a family. Kendrick Lamar, thank you for your transparency. Healing can begin. So Drake is telling Kendrick, it's mirror time. It's time for some reflecting again. And next, Drake would post a video from the movie The Equalizer starring Denzel Washington.
I'm going to each and every one of you, and the only disappointment in it for me is that I only get to do it once.
And it was just a couple hours later where Drake would post a photo of some caution tape, metaphorically warning everyone about the drop. And then finally he posted a doctored version of the cartoon Ren and Stimpy, depicting Stimpy as an owl looking at a red button. And as you guys know, Drake has
Yeah, I
mentioned this
remember
red
this.
button on many
damn, like thinking back on this night when we were like still waiting for a response from Drake, and just like, I don't know, like the way he was shaping this response up, especially after hearing Red Button and after hearing like that whole build up after Euphoria, like you just had to be there. Like I can't express enough just like how invested I was and like everyone I was living with at the time were. And I remember this shit came out while I was working on the 616 breakdown, and I like ran up to my roommates and I was like, y'all need to check what just dropped. And all that build up, like definitely a huge part of it. It's good that he got into that.
before.
If I press this red button, dog, everybody heaven gated. Press this red button, dog, and everything forever changes.
Next, we need to take a look at the track that got entirely overlooked as it was posted with Family Matters, but only on Drake's Instagram
Buried Alive
account.
shit.
And for those that don't know what I'm talking about,
Yeah.
I'm talking about the Buried Alive Part 2 track. Now, if you didn't watch my 616 breakdown,
Yeah, so I'll just give my breakdown on Buried Alive. I thought it was like really cool what Drake did with the flip, cause I think that's like the first example of Kendrick really early on being like I don't have to sell, or I'd never sell my soul, for that fame and for that level of success, and it was like an early example of him being on Drake's album, kind of like slightly throwing shots, or like, cause that dead version of himself in the time box or in the pine box that's buried is like the him before he sold his soul. And on that interlude, Kendrick is basically saying, like, if you were down there, like buried, I would come get you out. I would trade with you. Okay, you've watched an hour and a half. He's not that biased. Valid. Yeah, I didn't think he would be. But essentially like Drake flips it and then he's like, even if like you had sold your soul, like you still wouldn't be like on the level I'm on. Like even if you did what you're accusing me of doing, which is like burying that past version of myself, like I'd still be in my spot. You'd have to kill me to switch spots with me. So it's crazy seeing what happened right after, not just like him saying you're dead at the end of Family Matters, but him saying you'd have to kill me for that spot on Buried Alive interlude, because you know Kendrick, I guess, really took that to heart and really realized, like, I guess killing him in like the public eye, really the only way of you know, knocking him down from that position.
Definitely check that out because that's also a theme in that record. On part 2, Drake cleverly mocks Kendrick's original concept.
If you was in a pine box, I would surely break the lock.
In a pine box, I would shovel dirt on top.
And just a little backstory on the original Buried Alive track, because this is important. The last 3 bars of the song was written from Drake's perspective, and this was something that Kendrick revealed in a 2011 Double XL interview. And again, I dove way deeper into why Kendrick wrote this from Drake's perspective in the 616 breakdown. So Drake is really taking a chance to mock.
All right, he got into that. Yeah, reacting to a reaction. I mean, I don't know. Like, I feel like I was just gonna sit down and watch this anyway. Like, I love this guy's breakdowns. So, you know, I'm fucking with kind of getting y'all's feedback too as I watch this. Way you're doing live breakdowns. Nah, like I'm not breaking the song down or anything in this. I kind of just want to like see what he had to say about this. He puts a lot of time and effort into these videos, and I kind of just wanted to, you know, pay respect where respect is due and like and see how this turned out with y'all, because I was looking forward to this breakdown. Like, I've been following his community posts, like saying it, like pushing back the date when it's gonna drop and shit. Like, I've been following for a minute, so.
Kendrick with this Buried Alive Part 2 track, and this was supposed to be like a cherry on top for Family Matters, but it definitely did not work out that way, as Drake would eventually delete this.
If you was in a pine box.
I do think it looked a little weak that he deleted it, and at the end of the day, like, I don't even think the concept was bad, or like I feel like he kind of, you know, he made his point with this song, and nothing on this interlude was like refuted by anything Kendrick did later, like specifically. So deleting this and the Heart Part 6, like, it's just, that is accepting defeat at the end of the day. And like, I feel like it would have looked stronger from his side of things if he didn't delete that shit. Like, if he just kept it up and he was like, you know, when people look back at this beef, like, what'll my legacy be? Like, maybe some of my fans will still take my side on this. I don't feel like he should have deleted either of those songs, but
I would still be in my spot.
Drake starts off the mocking by insinuating that even if Kendrick was dead, which is unfortunately when people are truly celebrated, that Drake would still be ahead of him.
Nah, so I don't think it's like even if Kendrick was dead, because the original point of that song, Buried Alive interlude, was even if Kendrick like got rid of the old version of himself, sold his soul to reach Drake's level, which is like what I'm going back to on this, like, why was he dissing Drake on Drake's own album, or not dissing, but kind of like reflecting on that level of fame. Drake's not saying if you were dead you wouldn't reach my spot. He's saying if you like sold your soul like you're accusing me of doing, you still wouldn't be as big as me. Like, even if you're accusing Drake of, like, you know, being all tied in with the industry, like selling your soul to reach that level of fame, Drake is saying even if you did that, you wouldn't be as big as me. Like, there's a difference. So that's kind of what he's saying with that line.
Story as old as time, right? Nipsey, Dolph, Jim Morrison, Kurt Cobain, all these guys get immortalized after they pass away.
Looking in the mirror, still embarrassed.
I get that interpretation, but I don't think he's saying like if you were dead, because I think he's playing off that original like metaphor of being in that pine box that Kendrick was talking about on Buried Alive. But I see the connection though.
Drake states that Kendrick is still insecure about his position in hip-hop, and even 13 years later, Drake is still big bro, It's exactly how it was on the original Buried Alive track.
Yep.
And this is where he's rebuttaling Kendrick's claims about sparing him on Euphoria.
I can double down on that line, but spare you this time. That's random acts of kindness.
And we'd soon learn that Kendrick would indeed double down because we got Meet the Grams and then we got Not Like Us.
Just react like an infant whenever I mention. It's like you need tension, I always get attention.
And if you're not familiar with the original Buried Alive track, Drake really is matching this stylistically pretty well bang on.
So Drake plays a pretty good angle here, as there are many examples of Kendrick using conflict to his advantage. For example, the Control verse was amazing, but let's be real, had he not name-dropped all those rappers, it would have been totally forgettable.
No, bro, he was shaking up the game. No, he did that for attention. Kendrick Lamar did Control to get attention. That's facts.
Then we've got the BET freestyle.
Yeah, that's an interesting. I think Cole also like dissed Kendrick for this, on some like, I came up off bars, not controversy, and yeah, like I think it's fair to say that like Kendrick's controversy has shaped the trajectory of his career, but at the other side of it, you're gonna have those people who say, and I kind of agree with this, like that's hip hop, like that's just kind of like there's a competitive nature in rap that like Kendrick didn't start. So him bringing up a lot of rappers' names isn't like his characteristic trait of like attention seeking. It's more a trait of the culture. I mean, like just looking at the history of rap, but I see this point. Like I think Cole also dissed him for this. So like I get the angle that both of them are taking.
Where he dissed Drake and then denied doing it after. And while he does do his thing in that cypher, without this element, it wouldn't have caused much buzz.
Yeah, that's crazy that
was the only reason why the cypher made headlines, and he's done similar shock value
so
things like the
obviously
Heart
about
Part 4, and now again, he did it on the Like That record.
And let's not sugarcoat it. These were massive moments for Kendrick. And J. Cole said the exact same thing.
Why I got here off of bars, not no
Yeah.
controversy.
This is exactly what I was saying. Yeah, alright, so I guess if Cole and Drake both pointed it out, like, yeah, I mean, I don't understand why Kendrick, that BET cypher, like, you go back and listen to it, it was very obviously about Drake. So I don't understand why he would, like, deny it after, but...
So both Drake and J. Cole feel the exact same way.
You always say how you want to bury me alive. Jealousy disguises your motherfucking pride.
So coming off the last line about seeking attention, Drake appears to reference Kendrick's shots on Control, where he essentially said that he was trying to get Drake and all the other rappers out of here and more or less bury them.
But I'm trying to murder you, trying to make sure your core fans never heard of you.
In the second line, Drake claims that Kendrick was always jealous of his success, and I personally believe that this was true at one point, as we have Kendrick's own words to support this.
Me and my girl split the bucket at KFC. She listening to Drake, and all I can say, damn, these that much better than me, babe.
Real ones know that's a Kanye reference too.
So, I mean, this was 15 years ago in 2009. Whitney is listening to Drake. He sounds pretty jealous to me.
And some might argue that this isn't jealousy and that it's really a genuine dislike for how Drake represents a part of hip-hop that Kendrick doesn't respect. But if this were true, then why collaborate with Drake in the first place?
If you were really against what Drake was doing musically or what that stood for, and you're this real dude, then why work with Drake in the first place? Because that would be fake, right?
Drake had everything that Kendrick ever wanted, and even on the original Buried Alive track, he talks about how he felt when he found out that Drake was the same age as him, but was way more successful.
He said that he was the same age as myself, and it didn't help because it made me even more rude and
Yeah,
impatient.
yeah,
So
I don't know what else you want to call this, but jealousy and envy, because that is what this is.
I took you on your first tour with us trying to catch a vibe. I was headline, you was standing on the side, brought you and that other hoe along for the ride.
So again, Drake delivers nothing but facts here. Even on the original Buried Alive track,
that's a shot at ASAP too. Like he didn't mention, but that's a shot at ASAP too, since ASAP is the other hoe that he brought on tour with him.
seemed extremely excited.
Also, like, I hope he goes into this when he gets to Family Matters, but like, you know, Family Matters' impact on Kendrick maybe not as big because of that back-to-back with Meet the Grams and Not Like Us, but the impact it had on ASAP is kind of crazy. Because I posted a short about ASAP like 2 weeks ago, so a couple months after that song dropped. The whole comment section is shoulda modeled because it's mid again. Like, Drake kind of cooked Rocky and raised the expectations on this next album, which is like annoying because, you know, this man never drops anyway, and he probably puts that shit back because the expectations are so high. So, I still think it's gonna be a good album, but, you know, the whole comment section, all of it, just should have modeled. It's mid again. All right.
Meeting Drake, almost like he was finally going to get
Yeah, Tommy Hilfiger stood out, but Fubu was never a part of your collection. Yeah, I did understand that. I put that in the breakdown. You gotta watch my breakdowns.
moment because of it.
Felt like the initiation, a reality living in the matrix.
So, I mean, even then, he's saying meeting Drake was like an initiation. Like, he's finally getting his moment. Shit's finally going to cut through. Wow, Drake, like, you know, that's what this is.
And this turned out to be 100% true,
That's tough.
and Drake is quick to bring this up because he really did take Kendrick
okay.
and A$AP Rocky on their first big tour.
Appreciate it.
Drake was indeed headlining while these guys were on the sidelines, and even Kendrick himself said he was not used to these big crowds and that he was overwhelmed with the look that Drake just gave him.
Nigga Drake holding us down, you know what I mean, pulling us out there to see this motherfucking crowd that we ain't seen before, me and A$AP. The transition of me doing the 2,000 venues I've been doing back then is a little sketchy for me doing this 10,000. I gotta really work some motherfucking magic.
So I do think it's safe to say that Kendrick once held a degree of envy towards Drake, and this isn't the first time that Drake held this tour over his head, as he's brought it up multiple times now.
First, it was 2013 on the remix with Future.
Some inside the hood like I'm from there. So you know it's all good when I come there. I hear you talk about your city like you run there. Then I brought my tour to your city, my son there.
Then he mentioned it again on
Yeah,
4 p.m. in
that's one of the
Calabasas.
early.
When he told me take a
That's one of the early Kendrick's like slights too, and I covered that in like my hidden diss tracks video.
on the road, and I told him no and drew for Kendrick and Rocky.
And I believe that he was referring to this again on a more recent track, Red Button.
It's got you to the spot, and then you separated. Reasons for it speculated.
I don't think anyone could deny the shine that Drake gave these guys, and I do believe Drake wanted them to win.
Now, to be fair, which I am, Kendrick did go on a tour in 2010 with Tech Nine called the Independent Grind before ever meeting Drake. The venues were definitely a lot smaller, and his name wasn't even featured on the flyers, but he did get some exposure from the definitely a lot smaller, and his name
Those venue names, bro.
Independent Grind before ever meeting Drake. The venues were
Some of these venue names are crazy. Like some of them sound like restaurants or some shit. Alright.
definitely a lot smaller, and his name wasn't even featured on the flyers, but he did get some exposure from this tour.
I'm sure those shows were instrumental in helping him with his stage performance and all kinds of shit, right?
There's also the fact that even before the Buried Alive feature on Drake's album, Kendrick had already dropped Section 80, which gave him a lot of buzz in itself and prompted West Coast legends to hand him the torch on stage.
I'm gonna say this and I'm gonna mean this. You got the torch. You better run with it.
So this whole handing of the torch thing was in August of 2011. That's 3 months before the Buried Alive track came out.
At the end of the day, yes, Drake gave Kendrick a massive boost, but to say that Drake made Kendrick who he is would be insane. Kendrick Lamar is who he is as an artist because he's Kendrick Lamar. Let's just make that clear.
I believe Cream rises to the top, like even without TDE, even without Drake, whoever. I still think Kendrick would have found a way.
First time people lined up for your ass. Now you saying two pussy boys getting out of line.
Drake rebuttals Kendrick's comments on Euphoria about how J. Cole and Drake were giving each other props while on stage.
So I feel Drake's pretty much saying, you know, me and Cole are giving each other props on stage, and that bothers you that much? Like, you got issues, bro. You're a hater. You're jealous.
And when Drake states that this was the first time that anyone lined up for him, he's alluding to just how small the venues were that Kendrick performed at, and the fact that his name was never on the flyer, and on Drake's tour, he actually was on the flyer.
No matter how you spin it, it was a whole different
Nobody
ball
performed
game
at the Nick
when they
Factory.
went on tour with Drake. It was.
Yeah.
Drake's cosign is a reminder to both A$AP and Kendrick that he really did help them, and while this is a fact, it's not really a hard-hitting angle, as this is already beyond public information.
I'd still give Drake a couple points for this angle because it is true, but it's also very predictable.
You been hating hard for a very long time. I feel like Twitter ghost writing your reply.
Yeah, I saw
Drake brings
this.
up the fact that many of Kendrick's angles in Euphoria and 616 were already pre-existing narratives that were in circulation about Drake already. At the end of the day, Kendrick didn't reveal anything new about Drake on those tracks. Most of the narratives were already unhatched by either the public or other people that dissed Drake in the past.
That's how you felt in 2011 while we wasting time.
I
Dreams
feel
come
like
true,
I
Cody.
feel like just that is like I'll give my criticisms and like my praise where it's due. I feel like people had found like I don't think that's a general what people are saying about Drake pulled that and put them in the diss tracks. I think he's got to be referencing some specific lines or something, because otherwise it's like it's kind of not a point. Like Twitter ghostwriting your reply. Because I saw people come out with like tweets saying 69 God and OVHO after Not Like Us dropped, which are like, I don't think those are like that's not shit he just straight ripped off Twitter. It's kind of like, you know, kind of obvious this is to take, but if he has more evidence of other lines that he took from Twitter, Kendrick's not gonna like take his bars from Twitter though. Like I just feel like this isn't a.
Or other people that dissed Drake in the past.
That's how you felt in 2011 while we wasting time. Dreams come true, Crody. This is where you die.
All right, so on Kendrick's original.
All right, well, what I will say, like, I just want to make it clear, kind of my interpretation of the Buried Alive track, and I don't think it's like Kendrick is saying, even if he died, like, he'd be bigger than Drake if he died, like, physically died and, like, got all this attention because he died. It's more like if he sold his soul. Because in Buried Alive Interlude, there's this version of him that's, like, outside the grave, and then there's a version of him that's still alive inside, in the grave. That's why it's buried alive and not, like, buried dead. So that point about, like, I think Drake kind of misunderstood it, too. Like, that second alter ego of Kendrick's isn't supposed to be dead. It's supposed to be buried alive. Hence the name of the interlude. But I like that was a good breakdown on like what we got. I just think that concept of the original song is important.
Dreams come true, Crody. This is where you die.
All right, so on Kendrick's original Buried Alive track, from Drake's perspective, he tells Kendrick to accept the fame and states that Kendrick should bury himself in money, power, pussy, and fame. It's here where Kendrick left fans wondering, would he bury himself in money, power?
Nah, so like this is exactly what I'm talking about. This is like what he's contemplating doing. This is like the decision to make if you become famous. You got your original self, like who you truly are down inside, and you bury him for that version of you that goes famous. And then the more power and fame and pussy and money that you put in, that original version of you, it dies. And that's like him kind of seeing the level Drake is at and kind of questioning whether he could do that. And that's why he's like, I would switch places with you if I saw you going through that, to himself getting buried. So,
And fame. It's here where Kendrick left fans wondering, would he fall victim to these temptations, or would he have the willpower to avoid it?
So take a shovel full of money, full of power, full of pussy, full of fame, and bury yourself alive. Then I died.
So it's on Family Matters where Drake will craft a narrative that Kendrick was not only someone that clearly lost this fight, but is someone that secretly lived a life not all that different from Drake's.
Never mind. Drake understood the point. He's just like claiming that that
this is truly what he always wanted. With a history,
Bro,
the life not all that different from Drake's,
video,
as this is truly.
This stock video is mad funny, bro. Just like stock white woman that Kendrick got with on tour.
Always wanted. With a history of infidelity, messing with groupies, and a
I can't be the only one that found that funny.
Self-proclaimed sex addiction, Kendrick did indeed get buried by the temptations of the industry, and it's here where Drake sets his funeral.
Dreams come true, Crody. This is where you die.
So this Buried Alive track got over.
Props. That was a good ass breakdown.
I don't even think anyone covered it on YouTube or broke it down, but he is saying a lot here, and he does come with some pretty good angles. So I felt like I had to cover it. And by the way, if you're wondering what I'm wearing, this is my merch. My first run ever. I put a lot of thought into this design. It completely captures the whole moment of the beef. This thing is, in every sense of the word, a true conversation piece. I incorporated elements of all the diss tracks into this dope-looking comic book cover. You can see how the Push-Ups track is physically a shoebox. The items from Meet the Grams are physically on the desk.
I would get this as like a poster. Or I don't know. I would get this as a poster. You feel me? It would be tough if like it was an actual comic book too.
Got
It's
the
hard,
actual glove from 616 chilling on the wall here. Euphoria and The Hard Part 6 are shown on my computer screens. The big records, Family Matters and Not Like Us, are posters on the wall. We got a little owl chilling on the mic here. Kendrick's Crown of Thorns is resting on the chair,
Alright.
finding the right materials for this clothing. I tested each shirt
Alright,
out.
no
I
more
washed them,
designer
dried
shit.
them. Basically, I made sure that these products would definitely hold up. I've been getting a ton of feedback on the quality already.
Yeah, I get that, Joshua, but I think the point that's being leaned into here is like that's the lead up. This is where you die, and then like Family Matters is where he exposes that like he did bury that. Like that's the roadmap that Drake was trying to make with these two songs. Is like, this is where you die. This is how you've like failed your like spiritual side over the past few years, and then he starts talking about the, you know, the stuff with Whitney and everything, but.
A really heavy weight. There's nothing cheap about it. I wanted my first merch drop to be a reflection of what I do on the channel. Hence why the setting of the comic is designed based on my actual computer setup.
It's a really good way to support me, but you're also going to get this really dope, one-of-a-kind shirt that I guarantee is going to spark debate. Like, people are going to be... This thing's going to cause arguments, right? And you can put it up on your wall if you want to. A lot of people are doing that.
I got t-shirts, crew necks, hoodies, a bunch of different colors, shipping worldwide. All you got to do is
I don't
shit
know
you
why I'm
guys
just,
more than
like,
you know.
watching the ad.
And he finally get into the big fish, Family Matters, and when Drake finally dropped this record, he included the caption, "Stop trying to piece together what I know and go pick up the pieces of your broken home."
And we'll hear more about this later.
Now, unlike what people believe, Kendrick is not the only artist that can get busy when it comes to numbers and dates. Drake did an insane move with how he rolled out the back-to-back track against Meek. That whole setup was absolutely wild. And he suddenly does this again as he released the record on May 3rd, which, as you'll see later in this track, is a significant date, as this was when Kendrick performed at the Hard Rock Cafe, and this is when he allegedly put hands on Whitney.
Which is a large part of a premise of a track called Family Matters.
Speaking of the title, let's look at this next, as it does hold significant meaning and acts as Drake's main angle as we move further
what does
into the
chat
track.
say?
And we're going to get there.
Now, at a surface level, the words Family Matters could be viewed as 1, Family Matters, meaning family is important, or 2, there's family issues at play, and in a legal sense, Family Matters...
Yeah, the Meek beef, I feel like people should revisit that beef, and maybe I could start that, but revisit that and Push with the same lens that people are doing these breakdowns about Kendrick and Drake, because I think it'd be interesting to look back and like kind of see what went right for him there, like look into Duppy freestyle. I had actually made a breakdown video about the Pusha, about the story of Adidon or Adidon, and it'd be interesting to revisit that though. I feel like he won the Meek beef, but yeah, it's hard to say. I actually liked that like last Meek follow-up, but he like took too long to respond. But would people think that was too long to respond in like today's world, or like if it was Kendrick? I don't know. Cause Meek did kind of like first let everyone know that he was using ghostwriters and then showed proof. So it was a big blow like long term.
pertains to proceedings for things like divorce, child custody, or domestic violence.
And in this track, there's pretty much elements of all that.
And of course, as you guys know, Kendrick often explores themes of family, loyalty, and social issues in his music, and this is an angle that Drake will later exploit.
A large part of Drake's angle on this track is to paint Kendrick as a hypocrite. That is his goal.
The title is also a reference to the popular 90s sitcom Family Matters, set in Chicago, where Kendrick's family is from. His parents grew up on the south side of Chicago, with his father involved with the Gangster Disciples. They would later move to Compton, where Kendrick was born and raised, amid gang life. Now, while some of his uncles were gang members, Kendrick was only loosely affiliated, never fully involved. Drake uses the Family Matters reference to liken Kendrick to Steve Urkel, the nerdy neighbor who wasn't part of the family, but was always around.
And this is
That's interesting. I like that interpretation better. I saw a lot of people say that like Drake was calling himself Urkel, like, you know, he didn't belong, but he ended up being the like star of the show. But I fuck with this interpretation of it more.
we've heard from Drake throughout the whole beef, right? You're not that guy. You're not snatching any chains. You're a sweetheart. You're soft.
Now, the artwork is essentially a carbon copy of the design for the Family Matters show, with the only difference being that the show had Chicago in the background and Drake used an LA skyline. I even found the original image that Drake used. Basically, it's just an Adobe stock image.
Bro, shout out this guy for real, bro. He went on Adobe stock to find the picture. That's hard, though.
That he purchased for
He bought that shit for 105 Canadian dollars.
$105 Canadian.
Not the most original cover, but the concept is there.
Now that we looked at the title and the artwork, let's take a look at the beat selection. Structurally, this track...
I actually love this guy. I love this guy for like going on Adobe stock and finding the picture and how much it cost.
This track is composed of 3 different beats with 6 producers being credited, which is not a coincidence as Drake is meeting Kendrick's demands from the Like That record.
And that's exactly what Drake did. This track does have 3 beats, 3 switches.
The first beat, I could say with 100% certainty, was produced by Tay Keith, Drama Kid, and Preem, as I found this info on Drama Kid's Instagram. I also confirmed that the second beat was produced by Kevin Mitchell, as I sourced this info from his Twitter account.
And quite a few of these producers aren't big names. Like, no one even mentioned these guys, even though they are part of like this massive moment. So I left their socials in the description. Give them a follow.
Now, from what I could tell, the only track that had samples was the third beat, which is a sample called Conclusions by Grodek Whipperjenny. Grodek Whipperjenny was a band out of the 70s with 2 main members being James Brown and Dave Matthews. I listened to a bunch of their stuff and it's all honestly phenomenal. I learned that David Matthews in particular has been sampled in hip-hop a bunch of times before.
From what I could tell, Drake's beat selection doesn't really have any big hidden meanings or anything, not that I could find.
So right off rip, Drake goes beyond just giving us the audio for this track as we get a full-on music video with it. Now, what you'll notice is the thumbnail on YouTube is different from the DSP artwork, as what we see is a 1996 Plymouth Voyager about to get crushed.
And we will talk more about this van later in the video.
To start off visually, Drake begins by spinning a G-Unit chain, really supporting his claims from push-ups. The G-Unit chain is definitely symbolic, as it more or less acted as the mascot for G-Unit, and 50 was known for beefing with multiple opponents, being extremely ruthless and petty. Now, many people assume that 50 gave this chain to Drake, but this is completely false, as Drake had this chain custom made by Johnny Dang.
As you mentioned my seed, and I deal with his dad, I gotta go bad.
Which really tells me that Drake had all this set up and planned, likely even before the Push-Ups track dropped, as you'll see him execute specific things in this video that didn't happen overnight. This took some time to put together.
There's no doubt that a lot of effort went into this. I mean,
yeah,
buying
like,
the
this is crazy.
This took some time to put together.
The chains that he has here, he has the Billionaire Boys Club chain. I think this is a Nego thing too. This is a big shout out for Pharrell, because this is more than like just the chains from Jumbotron Shit Poppin'.
There's no doubt that a lot of effort went into this. I mean, buying the chain, getting it made, buying the van, all that stuff took time.
Now, as far as Drake's relationship with 50, they both...
I never did one of these like reaction videos in my life. This is crazy.
Seem to have a mutual respect for one another, and they even took a bunch of photos together after the beef.
So even though Drake made the chain himself, he more than likely had 50's blessing, right? He probably okayed it.
And in the very first few seconds of the video, there's another layer of symbolism. If you look closely, Drake is wearing a FUBU shirt and flashes the middle finger, which is clearly a bold response to Kendrick's shots on Euphoria.
And I was able to find the exact design that he was wearing, and it's like 90s vintage FUBU. So he's really saying fuck you.
FUBU never had been your collection.
Drake starts off the track with a direct rebuttal to Kendrick's claims on Euphoria.
Shout out What's the Dirt, man. That's some shit, you know, like as someone who like tries to catch this shit, big shout out. I did not catch either of those things.
When Kendrick clowned him for his use of the N-word. Drake strategically trolls Kendrick by getting his own mother to start off the track, requesting that Drake not use the word.
Maybe in this song, you shouldn't start by saying,
"Nigga, I said it, I know that you mad."
It's pretty clever because his mother probably doesn't approve of him using this word either. She probably asked him many times over the years not to use it, but she ultimately couldn't do anything about it because Drake is half black, the other side of his family uses it, so she had really zero say in the matter.
So he's pretty much saying, like, my own mom couldn't stop me. You're definitely not going to. And what's also really clever here is that Drake is 37 years old, and he says the N-word 37 times on this track. And I believe his reasons for doing this is he's basically saying the word for every year that he's been alive to symbolize that he was indeed born black. And look, I know this is all about culture and not really about race.
I think that
but no matter
last
how you
part
spin
of
it, a lot of the themes that Kendrick uses in his own music.
Yeah, like, okay, the 37 times because he's 37 years old, I believe that, but I don't know if I believe the for every year he's been born. Like, I don't see, like, the meaning of that. But valid. Crazy.
Drake's family also went through, and that is his heritage. I went through his dad's entire genealogy. His family's from the Deep South, right? They were indeed enslaved. They really had it bad. And you can't remove that blood from Drake. So a lot of the things that Kendrick talks about is also Drake's heritage, and you can't take that away.
Now let's finally get into the bars, and what you'll notice here is that Drake includes the lyrics for the entire song with the video.
So he doesn't want to get anything misconstrued. Like, here's the lyrics, here's what I mean. It's all right there for you guys.
I've emptied the clip over friendlier jabs. You mentioned my seed, and I deal with his dad. I gotta go bad, I gotta go bad.
In the first line, Drake claims that he's emptied the clip over friendlier jabs, which to me could only be one beef, and that was his back and forth with Meek Mill.
Now, I don't feel like Meek going online and putting Drake on blast for having ghostwriters was really a friendly jab.
In the second line, Drake directly responds to Kendrick's lines on Euphoria about his son Adonis, where Kendrick...
Yeah, and I don't think he was necessarily talking about Meek there either. Like, I think emptied the clip over friendlier jabs, like, you know, that could be anyone that he's beefed with recently. I get Meek because they, like, ended up friends after, but my mind goes to, like, Kanye. And especially like Kanye saying, like, there were, like, threats at his life and everything like that. And then they, like, ended up friendly again. But I could see it being Meek too. I just don't think it's, like, specific.
The same family values and more or less painted Drake as a deadbeat dad.
That's whole shit. I got a son to raise, but I can see you don't know nothing about that.
So in the last line, Drake says, I gotta go bad, which could be in reference to two things. First, and the most obvious, Drake's about to snap, he's about to black out and take things to a whole other level.
Michael Jackson.
Secondly, due to the Drake and Michael Jackson comparisons, Drake could be making a reference...
Nah, fuck it. I'm gonna try to break these down, like, a second earlier when I think I know it, so I could beat the not washed allegations.
MJ's 1987 hit Bad, where the theme of the record is essentially how Mike is a good guy, but he's now turning bad to fight against people that belittled and disrespected him.
And it kind of reminded me of the feature that he did with Meek, that going bad feature.
Still going bad on you anyway.
Drake then picks right back up from where he left off with push-ups. Now, the moment he breaks into this melody, a shot is shown of a van resembling Kendrick's childhood van, famously covered on Good Kid, Mad City, being towed in Toronto with a clear image of the CN Tower in frame. Now, many people seem to believe that Drake physically somehow purchased Kendrick's family van, but this is simply not the case. As you can see, these vans are similar, but Kendrick's family van is a 96 Dodge Caravan, whereas the van in the video is a 96 Plymouth Voyager.
You could see the trim's different, the rims are different. It's just not the same van.
And in the beginning, I was really surprised with Drake's lack of detail because finding the exact same model would have been a way better flex, but I literally scoured the internet myself to try to find the same van to purchase.
Yeah, valid. I actually, to definitely, I think not even a rebuttal, but like I said, I kind of interpreted Buried Alive a little bit differently. Like, I think obviously What's the Dirt does a great job of covering this stuff and, like, catching the stuff people missed, but we're about to watch it together, so if there's enough shit I kind of, like, saw differently, I might do something like that. Just, like, not even a rebuttal, just separate breakdown of, like, anything else I caught or feel like could be added. Only if it's enough, though. Like, I'm not really trying to reinvent the wheel. And then You Were Alive When Fubu Was Big. Stop Wearing Tommy Hilfiger. Fubu For Us By Us. Yeah, like Damon John and Fubu. No, like the story of Fubu and, like, how it became as successful as it did is really inspiring too, for, like, anyone interested in entrepreneurship. But yeah, and I saw the Tommy Hilfiger shit that, like, yeah, like he said some pretty messed up shit. I guess fuck Tommy Hilfiger.
And it was pretty much impossible.
I think Drake just found the closest thing that he could, which was the Voyager, and it served its purpose for the video.
Drake contracted a company by the name of Charisma
Thank you for the idea.
to transport this van, and I even dug up this company's TikTok account where they proudly announced their involvement.
That's crazy. I love
And
that
as
he
you can
catches
see,
shit like
even the
this.
transport company itself clearly labels this van as a Voyager and not a Caravan.
That is straight from the transport company, and they got to document the make and the model and all that shit.
What's interesting about Charisma Auto is they only transport very high-end luxury exotic vehicles, and as you can see, Drake definitely has a rapport with this company, as they delivered at least 4 vehicles that I could find to him in the past.
It's funny that Drake used this very high-end transport company. Like, I
For a van,
guarantee
yeah.
that van was like the shittiest thing that's ever been on that flatbed.
So I actually did not cover these lyrics in my push-ups breakdown because I had a really good feeling that this would resurface in an upcoming track. And because I didn't cover it there, let's cover it now. Drake starts off begging Kendrick to drop, and you gotta keep in mind, this was recorded before we heard Euphoria or 616. It was at this point where Drake showed a lot of confidence in the information that he had, and he seemed to think that Kendrick wouldn't have much to say.
He's pretty much saying, drop. I dare you to fucking drop.
Because this was his red button, and I think he just had it prepared since like the beginning of the beef. I do wonder what's the dirt thinks about if anything was added since. I think there are a good amount of references to Euphoria, obviously the beginning part, but like, you know, later in the song if anything was added, and like what the original version of this looked like versus like after Euphoria.
Do it.
Drop a 50 bag for the mob in a spot. Drop a 50 bag, 29 for the thought.
Drake takes it all the way to Houston, which is where his mob ties with the Prince family resides. He makes a reference to a Houston strip club called Area 29, which is not only a place that he frequents, but an establishment that he seemingly blesses with hundreds of thousands of dollars every time he's there. And on the same day that the Push-Ups track dropped, the owner of
stood out
Area
for what was
29's
never in your
Instagram
collection.
account
He grew up not
posted
like
this
an
video
average
with the caption,
Yeah.
Push-Ups.
They were probably really
Right.
hyped to get mentioned in that record, and Drake's mentioned these guys before.
I was really trying to keep it PG.
Drake claims that he was really trying to keep things PG, which is obviously an acronym for parental guidance in film,
PG
but it
Lang.
also acts as a double entendre as he's making a reference to Kendrick's record label, PG Lang. Basically, Drake is saying that he really wanted to keep this record aimed at Kendrick only, but because all these artists dogpiled on top of him, he's forced now to deal with them too.
He's saying he wanted to keep this PG, right? He wanted to keep this to just Kendrick, but now he's firing on everyone.
No, and it's also a reference to like what he's about to say about Dave Free, obviously, because he started PG with Dave Free, and like what he's saying about what happened with Dave Free, because like obviously breaks parental guidance to talk about his baby mama sleeping with Dave Free. So there's also like I think the PG reference talks about Dave, because even when that was at the end of Push-Ups, people were saying, oh, does this have something to do with Dave? I think people were really predicting when it first dropped on Twitter that like some of the dirt he was going to say on Family Matters was about Dave. So the PG shit is definitely a reference to him too.
Said they give your ass a DP. To civilian gang in real life, you PC.
Now, the first thing I notice here is that for all the effort that went into making this video, Drake has the wrong lyrics on the screen. On the video, it's clearly written
I noticed this too.
as to civilian getting real like you PC.
To civilian gang in real life, you PC.
But hey,
I was really curious about this.
To civilian getting real like you PC.
To civilian gang in real life, you PC.
But hey, I'm probably the last person to cast judgment because you guys tell me in the comments every video of the spelling errors that I make.
Now, some people seem to think that these lines were directed at Rick Ross, but this is 100% a
Yeah.
shot at Kendrick.
It's definitely a Kendrick.
Drake claims that if Kendrick really had a set, meaning if he was really a gang member,
good, Sparky.
they would give him a DP to knock his ass back in line. Now, a DP is synonymous in gang culture, and it's basically a form of disciplinary action. If a member gets out of line, misrepresents the gang, or puts the gang in harm's way, they're going to get the beats.
And if you don't think Kendrick was acting a little bit hard or flexing some gang shit in his beef, just look at what he was saying.
If you walk around with that stick, it ain't Andre DK. Think I won't drop the location.
He's talking about the strap.
That's a K with all these nines. He gonna see Pet Cemetery.
My bad. That was just a funny moment.
Think I won't drop the location.
He's talking about the strap.
That's a K with all these nines. He gonna see Pet Cemetery.
More gun talk.
Extortion my middle name as soon as you jump off of that plane, bitch.
I mean, he's pretty much claiming that when Drake touches down, he's got to check in.
Blick niggas all in the coffee.
Again with the blicky.
Someone go bleed in your family, Crody.
Someone is going to bleed in your family.
Eating fried rice with a dip sauce and a blammy, Crody.
Now he's talking about the blammy.
And although Kendrick claims to be a civilian himself, He doesn't play his hand as a civilian on these tracks, and Drake is pointing out that Kendrick is really a sweetheart, and all this tough talk is an act. He refers to Kendrick as being a PC, which in prison stands for protective custody. This is where the most vulnerable inmates go, which often includes non-gang members to help protect them. Drake is basically saying that Kendrick isn't that guy, he never was that guy, and he's very far removed from anything remotely close to gang life.
Which is really a fact. I mean, Kendrick is not out here in the trenches. Let's just be real.
You know who really bang except my nigga YG.
So Drake makes a critical mistake here. He references YG as being a friend of his who is a full-on blood.
And then he
I
pulled
guess
up the
Drake
pop
really
out.
put a lot of stock into what he thought could have been their friendship, but YG is from the West Coast, a place that Drake mocked on Taylor Made.
And it was only 20 days later where YG dropped the track that to me is a very obvious diss to Drake.
Weird ass nigga in your feelings about these bitches. Weird ass niggas off that perky be tripping.
So right off rip, you'll notice that YG also uses lyrics on the screen, which is unusual, as he's clearly mocking Drake's Family Matters video. Furthermore, he uses words like "in your feelings," which is a reference to Drake's big hit.
When it's smoke, don't ever mention my name.
Yeah, shout out to no one. I didn't see anyone talk about this. I guess I'm the one that's supposed to be talking about it, but.
Jeopardizing my fame, jeopardizing the game, jeopardizing what you hate, nigga.
And as you can see here, he's clearly not happy about.
Yeah, Drake isn't either. So this whole point, like, I'm trying to think if there are like specific gun references and shit like that. That like Drake claims he himself is gonna do something on this track. I know like on a lot of like even if you think about mob ties, it's like hire some help and get rid of them. So like his claims are always like he's gonna use his money. So I feel like that's a little bit of a like to say Kendrick can't talk about shooting Drake because he's not about that life, but then like Drake can talk about like hiring help. I don't know. It's like Kendrick talking about it doesn't imply that he's gonna do it himself if he's saying he's affiliated.
His name in Family Matters, and even if they are friends, which it looks like they aren't, roping YG into this thing was very miscalculated.
So that's why I'm like, all right, like I get it. Drake never goes out and he's like, I'm gonna shoot you. But I mean, I feel like he has though. I feel like he has.
YG claimed this wasn't about Drake. That is a lie. This is clearly about Drake. The whole record has shots. It's about Drake. In a war like this, you can't set yourself up for things to backfire on you like this. The optics did not look good at all when we saw YG was front and center at Kendrick's pop-out show. Now, I highly doubt YG will ever get any more features from Drake, so hopefully that was worth it for him. We'll see in time.
You know who really bang
Yeah, the YG style shit.
Next, Drake makes reference to the game, who actually has a relationship with both of these guys. Now, I gotta be honest, a lot of people gave the game flack for not showing up at the pop-out show, but I personally respect what the game did here. Much like many artists, Drake has done a lot for the game, and he's one of very few that really showed some loyalty here. I don't think it was necessary for him to turn...
He did, and this video right here is like, in a lot of people's opinions, the reason, you know, this beef got to where it is, because Kendrick started referencing this so often that, like, Drake pulled up to Compton and is like, you know, making a music video like this is a Kendrick music video, like, why is Drake here? Like, this was a big point in the beef. And then obviously Drake dissed Kendrick on this song, making it worse. He was like, I would have all of your fans if I stayed on conscious shit. So this wasn't a good moment. Not surprised that the game would like stick with Drake here. Thoughts on the Lucky Cardi beef? I should drop a breakdown on that. Yo, I went to the Cardi show that got shut down in New York. I can talk about this like after I get through this video. But fuck, man. 3 hours of my life I'll never get back.
Drake, he stayed neutral throughout the entire beef, and hopefully Kendrick also understood.
You siding with this nigga and that nigga. When the fuck y'all heard me say a motherfucking thing about who?
Yeah, conscious maybe not. But like, I guess the claim on that song was like, if I did start making that kind of music, I'd be as good as you. I'd have your fans. So.
I'm siding with it, this and that, nigga. I'll be in my own lane chilling, nigga. Taking care of my kids out the fucking way, nigga. That's how I made it this far in this fucking game.
You know who even banging said I did CB.
Drake then makes a reference to Chris Brown, and many might think this is a gimmick, but Chris really is a full-on Fruitown Pyru, and this is a really great little dig because Chris Brown is an R&B singer from Virginia, but unlike Kendrick, a Compton native who was only an affiliate, Chris is a full-on gang member.
Drake is saying, like, you're so soft that even this R&B guy is harder than you. He's an actual gang member.
And when it comes to Chris Brown, although he did have a heated beef with Drake that eventually got squashed, I believe he's also a neutral party in this beef.
We got a video of Chris Brown bopping around in the club to Not Like Us. But let's be real, like, Not Like Us is a banger. Like, it's hard not to bop your head to it. It's pretty much impossible.
And then it was just days later, he was singing Drake on stage. And a lot of people seem to forget this, but Chris Brown did sort of pay homage to Drake on his diss to Quavo.
I ran your ass through the ringer, nigga. You just got body by a singing, nigga.
So by Drake mentioning all three of these guys, he clearly thought that this was something he could lean on. He definitely felt like they were in his corner.
Nigga Cole losing sleep on this, it ain't me.
Unlike J. Cole, who apologized for his diss and said he was losing sleep over it, Drake does not have this issue. And no matter how you want to slice this, Drake is indeed slighting J. Cole with this line.
Yeah.
Cole losing sleep on this, it ain't me. I do like that line.
Now, as far as the visuals go for the video, we finally get to see the van being delivered to a crusher. And now, as far as Cole with this line.
Cole losing sleep on this, it ain't me. I do like that line.
Now, as far as the visuals go for the video, we finally get to see the van being delivered to a crusher, and we could see a loader in the distance making its way through the scrapyard with the van.
You better have some paperwork or that shit fake T. Can't be rapping about no red that we can't read.
Yeah, so I feel like Kendrick was about to take a... It seems like Drake thinks Kendrick was going to talk about him snitching. Like, that was going to be a big point of the beef. Because he talked about it on this song, and then he talked about it again on the Heart Part 6. And it might be that I know some shit about him that would make Gunna want to look like a saint, but it might have just been something that Kendrick scrapped. But we'll see.
So this is a very surface-level response to Kendrick's claims on Euphoria, where he compared Drake to Gunna for being a rat.
I know some shit about niggas that make Gunna wanna look like a saint.
However, in hindsight, you'll notice later in this track that Drake accuses Kendrick of certain actions that would also require documentation to really substantiate.
Now, these guys are both guilty of this. They're both throwing accusations, allegations, whatever you want to call it, at each other with zero proof, zero paperwork, nothing.
I mean, it's true, a nigga slimy for my AP.
So let's finally put this thing to rest. Drake was robbed at gunpoint back in 2010 after leaving a restaurant with a woman by the name of Chantel Brown.
I feel like that's the
They stole a chain which was gifted from Wayne, an AP watch, and $2,000. The thieves quickly got caught by police because they were going down the wrong way of a one-way street. How the police got the information to identify these men is unclear, but the two suspects were identified as Socrates Carell and Paul Letou. The charges were later dropped, and the two men pleaded guilty to a lesser charge. Now, shortly after these charges were laid, some paperwork did leak, and I'm not 1090 Jake, but as it's written here, there's nothing indicating that Drake spoke to authorities.
And just so you know, in Canada, I don't know what it's like anywhere else, but you don't have a choice. Like, the cops, police, they lay the charge. You could even tell them, no, I don't want to cooperate. I don't want to press charges. Don't matter. The police are the ones who make the call.
So in my very honest opinion, it's highly likely that Drake refused to cooperate, which caused the prosecution's case to be very weak. It's for this reason that the Crown was forced to accept the plea deal where the suspects pleaded to a lesser charge.
I'm going to say there's a 95% chance that that is what happened.
And I made the decision to not put those guys away, to not go to trial, you know, despite whatever, I don't know what anybody else is talking about, but it's public record in Canada. You can see I wasn't there. I was in Miami. I wasn't at the trial.
So it seems like Drake even tried to be out of the country just so he didn't have to deal with this.
Yeah, and I know people were saying that Drake was corny for taking lyrics from Kendrick's Mr. Morale and using it against him, but Kendrick is essentially doing the same with this very public info, as Drake has mentioned this robbery on several tracks himself.
Maybe it was the fast-paced switch up or the two guns in my face during the stick up.
And Drake makes it clear that the girl that he was with set him up.
Maybe because the girl I thought I trusted was who set the whole shit up.
And he mentioned it again on From Florida with Love.
Easy play that shit for me and Kobe on the bus. When it got a chain from me, I had to give it up.
So he's talked about losing the chain from Wayne.
Niggas had a pistol loaded, pointed in my truck.
He then goes on to say that he's learned from this and that it hasn't happened since.
On that day, I never touched a road without a plug. Hasn't happened since, I guess you niggas know what's up.
As far as Chantel, Socrates, and Paul, I can't find any information about these suspects. I don't know if they're dead. I don't know if they changed their names. There is nothing on these people.
Just like I Metro nigga slamming for his main squeeze.
Drake gets really petty here, making the claim that Metro Boomin's girlfriend, who goes by the name of Chelsea Cotton, slept with one of his close friends. Now, Metro was quick to take to Instagram in an attempt to debunk these claims, saying, "Nobody ever hit my girl. We grew up together. She's a real woman, and she's not even in the industry."
Now, the friend that I think he could be talking about that slept with her is Future.
In the line, Drake is really messing with Metro's head as he ensures to make use of the word slime, and it was just 2 months prior that Metro and Future released a song called Slimed In. Now, this of course could really be a reach, but it is possible that Drake is making a reference to Future sleeping with Metro's girl.
And it could be directed at anyone close to Metro, but I felt like the Future thing is the only compelling thing that I could find.
As far as the visuals go, it's at this point where the
didn't see
loader
anything,
heads
like,
towards the van
set in
and
stone
positions
about
the
that
forks to begin the lift.
Out here begging for attention, nigga, say please.
It's with this line where Drake circles back to exactly what he's been saying for a very long time. After the control verse, Drake claimed multiple times that Kendrick was doing these kinds of things to get attention.
Like being the talk of Twitter for like 5 days, you know. Over
But you
like,
see, Drake is pretty much saying, okay, little bro, I know you don't got no motion right now. I know you're cold as ice. Your last album didn't do well. You're looking for some attention. If you say please, maybe I'll give it to you.
And again, J. Cole said the exact same thing.
If he wasn't dissing, then we wouldn't be discussing him.
They're basically saying it's only you that does these little stunts for attention, and they don't respect it.
Always rapping like you about to get the slaves freed. You just acting like an activist. It's make-believe.
Drake claims that Kendrick's whole entire persona is one massive grift, and he's had similar subliminal shots towards Kendrick that I showed you guys in a video 8 months ago.
Fake woke niggas, fake beef. They ain't no fake for me. Gave your ass a little sneak peek, yeah.
Now, the first line did not sit well with a lot of people, and coming off Kendrick's claims on Euphoria about how Drake is disconnected from the culture, this line seemingly supported Kendrick's narrative. However, I don't feel like Drake is saying anything disrespectful about the conscious hip-hop that Kendrick does. What he's really doing here is saying that Kendrick is fake. When you look at these two lines in conjunction, I honestly don't think Drake is downplaying slavery here at all. What Drake really means by this is that the subject matter of Kendrick's music is all for show and that he's a grifter.
And look, it's not my place to tell anyone how they should feel about this line, but I just feel Drake isn't downplaying the message, he's downplaying the messenger. And when those two lines are together, that's his goal, to paint Kendrick as being fake.
And J. Cole...
Yeah, I get that. I mean, I guess if you're saying the point is, like, the rest of the song, I'm going to show you how morally his life doesn't line up with his message, I don't think that makes his music, like, grifting. Like, I feel like Kendrick's pretty transparent about him not being the perfect messenger, like, throughout his music. Like, the biggest hypocrite of 2015. Like, I think his message makes a positive impact without relying on himself being perfect. That could just be nitpicking. I get the angle Drake was taking with that. So, yeah, like, I get that. Yeah, I don't see how Drake could try to grandstand either, but you gotta understand, though, like, why that line didn't sit well with people. It's like, fuck it.
And shared the exact same sentiments as what Drake had.
Niggas fake, progressive, and woke. I started...
That's what I'm curious about. Like, people in the comments, like, about that specific line from Drake. Just kind of how it felt to you.
Unless I had to stop it, peeped how they profit off of racial stress.
When you actually take what Drake said and align it with what Cole is saying, these lines are pretty much identical.
Was that about Kendrick? I don't know.
Because they both refer to Kendrick as someone that profits off of racial tension, but Cole really drives this home even further in the next two lines.
Some activists got so rich they probably wish we stay oppressed. Studio steppers moving extra on songs faking rap.
So Cole makes a
Damn, studio steppers. Alright. I guess Cole said the same shit. Damn. He has a really good breakdown of, like, all the subliminals that Cole shot at Kendrick before the beef started. And that really made me think, like, damn, Cole probably had as big of a problem, or, like, almost as big of a problem with Kendrick as Drake did. So that as confirmation is crazy, but...
to Kendrick's album, Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers, and suggests that K-Dot is faking the funk for money.
I guess
and it's
Cole
in this first bar where it's even more similar to Drake's line, as they are both saying the exact same thing here. it's fairly apparent that both J. Cole and Drake aren't shooting shots at the subject matter itself, but more at the person who's delivering it as they see it as a grift. And that's not the last time that J. Cole...
I just still think, like, my position on this is just, like, yeah, like, shoot the messenger as much as you want, and that's, like, the point of the beef. But, like, I guess Cole and Drake are both kind of making an unfair shot about, like, the message not having as much weight because, like, Kendrick is this imperfect guy. When, like, I feel like we'd be at a little bit of a loss, like, without some of, like, you know, what he puts into his music. But
called Kendrick a fraud.
Your arms might be too short to box with the guy
kind of like the question of, like, so should nobody make conscious rap because nobody's perfect, you know? That's kind of like where we end up at. And then it's like, nah, like, there should be someone making conscious rap.
Without the pressures of a constant facade.
So Cole and Drake are saying the exact same thing. This dude is a grifter.
Don't even go back to your hood and plant no money trees.
Drake makes a direct reference to Kendrick's big hit Money Trees and claims that he doesn't go back to his neighborhood to spread the wealth.
Money Trees is the perfect place for shade, and that's just how I feel.
Now, I think everyone knows that Kendrick has a long history of giving back.
Damn, though, like, salute to this breakdown, though, because I think comparing it to what, like, Cole has said before is really, like, adding some weight to it in my eyes. I guess that's some, like, anti-Drake bias. I can't even lie to y'all. But, like, it's making me realize, all right, like, I think Cole also, like, as you put it, what's the dirt on your breakdown of the back and forth, comes from a place of a little bit of jealousy. And y'all could watch his breakdown of all the subliminals Cole shot at Kendrick, and he kind of, like, he reiterates that it does come from, like, a place, a little bit of jealousy, and the fact that they're, like, in the same lane and only one person can be, like, number one in that lane. But it's interesting to think about.
Compton and LA in general. I could make a whole other video about this, and maybe sometime I will. But let's just say that he's given back hundreds of thousands.
Damn, this is a good breakdown, though. Like, I think it's a little, like, antagonistic towards Kendrick, but, like, I get that, because, like, I get that from where he's explaining what Drake is saying. So it's like I think he's doing it in a fair way up until this point.
Dollars, maybe even millions. He's definitely amazing.
But yeah, like, I think there isn't a moment in his career where, like, Kendrick has, like, tried to paint himself as perfect and his message as, like, the truth because he's perfect. I think, like I said, you can't, like, if you're going to put that expectation on anyone pushing a positive message, then you're never going to get a positive message, because then everyone's going to think they have to be perfect for it. So, not a criticism of the breakdown at all, just kind of a criticism of taking that angle on Drake's side.
Charity, but there's more to it than just that. Planting money trees isn't just about donating to charities for a potential tax break. What I think Drake really means here is he's talking about things like, what businesses has Kendrick created in his community? Based on my research, he owns PG Lang, and that's pretty much it. So Drake makes a pretty solid point here. If you want to talk about giving back to people on the West, look no further than what the late, great Nipsey Hussle did. Nip created multiple businesses, truly growing money trees on his home soil. This is one of the best investments that you could do for your community, as it not only provides goods and services for the people, but it creates job opportunities. This man had restaurants, barbershops, full-on education programs for kids of color, affordable housing. He was trying to work with police to help with gang violence. Nipsey was planting money trees left, right, and center, and he even planned to roll out some of these programs in other states in America. And then there's another layer of planting money trees. The question needs to be asked, what has Kendrick done for West Coast rappers? What is he doing to put money into the pockets of LA artists?
Yeah, that
what
YG
is he doing to find
is,
the next Kendrick?
It's interesting to look into because of, you know, his album flopping. Right after, like, switching sides to prove Drake wrong on this song, you know, album still flopped.
The answer is not as much as you would expect. Excluding features that he's done with his label mates on TDE, which really shouldn't count, Kendrick's discography isn't exactly the definition of promoting West Coast artists. There's a lot of budding MCs coming.
To be fair, though, like, he keeps his features just limited in general. Yeah, I agree. Like, I feel like J. Cole making that angle is like kind of the same thing. Like that's how I felt when the song False Prophets came out. But
LA right now, and not only has Kendrick not planted any money trees for them, he's hardly
he found the money tree gift.
even planted a seed. It's the small things like this that Kendrick Lamar lacks, and Drake makes a very good point. One could even argue that Kendrick's strategy with his pop-out show was a way to address narratives like this one.
Again, if we're talking West Coast, look at Nipsey. Look at Nip.
Look, when you're a multimillionaire, throwing money at charities is not all that difficult when there's real groundwork that needs to be laid, and Nip had his footprints all over it as he was really doing everything in his power for his community.
See, like I said before, a big part of Drake's strategy with this record is to paint Kendrick as a hypocrite.
Yeah, Carmen, I haven't gotten to that point yet, but I'm interested to see like how he covers the Whitney Kendrick shit.
As far as the visuals, at this point, the van has been completely removed from the back of the trailer and is sitting on the forks of the loader.
Now, to this last point, like I think it's valid if like we knew kind of like I wouldn't put it past him as an artist for us to not know the public information of like everything he does philanthropically. I doubt he does nothing. I doubt everything would be out there. At the same time, like, yeah, if you look at Drake's record, you could see like he owns like some restaurants and like I don't think it's like crazy direct philanthropy either. As far as investing in his community goes, it's more like smart business decisions for him. But yeah, like why we're telling another man how to spend his money, that's a good point. I think the bigger point is just like, just because it's not out there on the internet doesn't mean it's not happening. The supporting the artist thing, I will give you that. That is like, all right, like I do think like Drake helps up and coming rappers that he like sees as, you know, people he sees as having potential a little bit more than Kendrick does. Like Kendrick signed that guy Tana Leone, and he's not really like giving him that much of a platform. But Kendrick kind of also works in like these weird cryptic ways where like I don't know. I feel like I'm getting too deep on this. Valid points. Like I get it though.
Speculate what that man does behind the scenes. Kendrick could be doing a lot. I'm just giving theories to what I think Drake.
He was just about to say that. Nah, honestly, my critique like on that point isn't on his breakdown. I get that. Like, okay, this is Drake's perspective. He's trying to relay that to us. I feel that.
Be talking about, and he's more or less just calling him a grifter. He's saying Kendrick's music and the message within it, as powerful as it is, it seems to stop there. There's no follow-up. There's no real action. You're just profiting off this. You're not really doing the groundwork. That's what I get from it.
And look, without music, I probably wouldn't even be here. So I'm the last guy that's going to downplay the power that music has to influence people and influence change. It's a very powerful tool. Influence people and influence change. It's a very powerful tool.
Say you hate the girls I fuck with, what you really mean?
It's here where Drake begins to rebuttal Kendrick's comments on Euphoria.
You hate the bitches you fuck cause they confuse themselves with real women.
And next we get a pretty crazy flip.
I've been with black and white and everything that's in between.
Drake comes through with the facts as he does have a wide range of past women from every ethnicity. It's here where Drake begins to frame his angle as Kendrick really being envious of the life that Drake so freely lives. He begins to portray that Kendrick's issue isn't with the women Drake is involved with, but more about the fact that he can't open...
He keeps using this clip, bro. Nah, I'm sorry. I just think, like, I think too much about, like, the editing choices. And that's just, like...
That Kendrick's issue isn't with the women Drake is involved with, but more about the fact...
This is like the third time he used this clip. I get it, though.
Can't openly engage in the same behavior himself.
You the black messiah wifing up a mixed queen.
Drake points out that the guy who is seemingly very pro-black has wifed up a mixed woman. Now, certain people are against race mixing and they've got their own reasons. It's not something that I subscribe to. To me, love is love, and I believe Kendrick has a similar stance. And the facts are, there simply isn't any supporting lyrics or public statements from Kendrick that's opposed to race mixing.
This angle would have been great if Kendrick was out here acting like Dr. Umar, but that's just not the case. In fact, I see it as the opposite.
Vanilla cream to help out with your self-esteem.
Now, this one is good.
Drake uses Kendrick's own words against him as he admitted to sleeping with white women himself.
So yeah, the I hate the bitches you fuck because they confuse themselves they confuse themselves with real women. Like, looking back, I see that as like a pedophile thing. Or I don't know if I'm gonna be able to say that without the stream getting demonetized. But I see that as like a, like, we thought he was saying, like, the women he gets with aren't like he was demeaning the women, but the actual line was they confuse themselves with real women because they're like underage.
First time I fucked a white bitch, I was 16 at the Palisades.
He didn't stop there, except this time he admits to cheating on Whitney with a white chick.
Next time I fucked a white bitch was out in Copenhagen. Good kid, Man City tour. I flourished on them stages.
And for those that want to say that he wasn't with Whitney at this time, that may be possible, but it was just over a year later where, again, he hides behind this high school sweetheart fairy tale.
But Kendrick has his longtime girlfriend that he's been with since the beginning, right, Kendrick?
Yeah, man, yeah.
So he's worried about that.
You know all your business. That's the one you ride out with. Nobody can hit it.
So in this interview, like many others, he's claiming that he's been with Whitney this whole time, and we're going to get into a lot of those inconsistencies very soon. And of course, when Drake...
I will say, I feel like I don't want to come off like I'm contradicting everything he's saying, but like watch that moment back. It doesn't really sound like he wants to talk about it. Like,
so...
Yeah, he's worried about that.
You know all your business.
He wasn't talking about race. He wasn't. It was, we hate the bitches you fuck because they confuse themselves with real women. And then he goes, like certified lover boy, certified pedophile. So like, I thought that's what that was leading into. She could have. That's a point, but all I'm saying about this point is like, watch this clip. It doesn't really sound like he's like eager to talk.
Beginning,
about
right, Kendrick?
Yeah, man. Yeah.
So he's worried about that.
You know all your business. That's the one you ride out with. Nobody can hit it.
So in this interview, like many others, he's claiming that he's been with Whitney this whole time, and we're gonna get into a lot of those.
Nobody can hit it doesn't mean that they're together. That's all I'll say. But
consistencies very soon.
Like, I get the
and
point.
Of course, when Drake claims that Kendrick hit Vanilla Cream to help out his self-esteem, this also rings true as Kendrick admitted this himself.
Insecurities that I project sleeping with other women. Whitney's hurt, the pure soul I know.
So I think Kendrick means women in general, not just white women, but whether you like this or not or want to admit it, what Drake is saying here is indeed valid.
Also, Bobby shit, I wanna know what Whitney need. All that puppy love was over in y'all late teens.
Drake comes in with some shots as Kendrick and Whitney started dating in high school, and Young Love
I don't know. I still feel like the like him turning it into a race thing with the bitches you fuck, him being like, I've been with black and white and everything that's in between. I feel like that's kind of like a projection.
Very strong.
I don't think that's what the original line was about.
Hence the reference to puppy love. It's here where Drake also makes a reference to Whitney Houston and Bobby Brown's toxic relationship, drawing parallels between the two. Drake compares both relationships here as being extremely toxic and is likely alluding to the allegations of domestic abuse. However, another layer comes into play when we look at Whitney Houston's massive hit, All the Man That I Need, as it's on this record where Whitney is describing the perfect partner, where the lyrics describe how the man fulfills her emotional needs, provides love, security, and makes her feel complete. So Drake is saying that Whitney is not getting any of these things from Kendrick, right?
Why you never hold your son and tell him say cheese?
At the time of this track, Drake seemed to have assumed that Kendrick was never seen with his new child, but this is in fact false, as I found a video of Kendrick feeding him.
Track 3. Hey, give me that thing.
We could have left the kids out of this, don't blame me.
Drake brings up how Kendrick made mention to his son Adonis on Euphoria.
That's whole shit. I got a son to raise, but I can see you don't know nothing about that.
And it's because of that where Drake says, okay, now it's fair game.
You a dog and you know you can just play sweet.
So this line is actually pretty impactful and 100% true, but it'll make a lot more sense if I explain it in a few more bars.
Your baby mama captions always screaming, save me.
Drake continues to dish out more shots as when we look at Whitney's captions on Instagram, they don't seem to scream happy relationship by any means. Now, she is a new mother, right? So she could have went through postpartum depression. Those posts don't mean that that's about their relationship. As far as the visuals go, it's at this point where the loader heads towards the crusher with the van on its forks.
You did it dirty all your life, you tryna make peace.
Drake makes the claim that Kendrick has been doing
this
Whitney.
Clip, bro. I swear to God, if I see this fucking clip again, I'm turning this shit off. I'm sorry. I don't know. I'm just like, I feel like I pay attention like while I'm editing to like how often I'm like, I try not to use the same clip over and over, And just seeing this shit every single time he talks about him, fucking like other bitches that aren't Whitney.
Drake makes the claim that Kendrick has been doing Whitney dirty his whole life. All right, so let's just look at the timeline of all the times that Kendrick did Whitney dirty that we know of.
It was back in 2010 where Kendrick spoke about just how poorly he treated her while Whitney stayed at home alone.
And she know they got me. I watch her feelings watch me. That's the stem.
He treated her while Whitney stayed at home alone.
And she know they got me.
What just happened? What was that cut, bro?
Where Kendrick spoke about just how poorly he treated her while Whitney stayed at home alone.
And she know they got me. I watch her feelings watch me. That's the staring with the saddest eyes of loneliness.
Now, you could say this is just him telling a story and it's not about them, but we can at least admit at the very minimum that the parallels are interesting.
And he would only go on to break more promises as at the end of this record.
Damn, bro, you gotta fix that first part, because you went in and you're like, this is the timeline of like every time you did her bad, and then that first part has a weird cut in it that like keeps people from hearing the whole point. So I'm gonna just say, like, someone needs to let him know.
Say this is just him telling a story and it's not about them, but we can at least admit at the very minimum that the parallels are interesting.
And he would only go on to break more
we don't know what the parallels are about, is the thing.
Promises as at the end of this record.
Boring. Should I put it on fucking... Should I put Family Guy on the bottom?
He commits to being faithful to her from that point on.
So to what's important in my life, I apologize.
Is that too fast? Let me know. I feel like it's a little too fast. I think it's been a good breakdown, though.
To stay faithful, focused, and sanctified.
So even from a very early point here,
I'm
have
glad
Kendrick.
I'm watching it on stream, because like I do have like my criticisms of it, but like you gotta acknowledge the amount of work that goes into a breakdown like this. So still respect and everything.
Admitting to wrongdoings on a record, and because he apologizes for things like this and comes off as sincere, fans seemingly give this behavior a pass.
But bro, he apologized. He admitted it. Like, that doesn't change anything. That doesn't change the fact that he was sliming her pretty bad. It doesn't.
There's also the fact that
I still think that could be, you know, like, use that as dirt in the beef. Like, I agree with him on that. That, like, just because he admitted it doesn't mean you can't use it as dirt in the beef. But it doesn't, like...
analyze and critique every single thing that Drake says and does and use it against him to support whatever narrative there may be, then we had to do it here as well. It's only fair.
Unless, of course, you're a deranged, insane superfan. Then you probably wouldn't agree, but most people wouldn't.
Continuing on with the timeline, we now need to look at Kendrick's lyrics on Mr. Morale, as it gives context to another incident in 2012.
I met her on the third night of Chicago, North America tour, my eye closed. V5 she was a model, eyes like green penetrate.
Kendrick refers to his North American tour and states that he met a woman on the third night of Chicago. Now, when I looked into this, I found that he's referring to the Pitchfork Music Festival, which took place in Chicago in 2012, where he did indeed perform on the third night and admits to sleeping with this woman.
Green eyes said you be okay, first to a sex to pain away.
And it was literally just 1 month before that festival where Kendrick claimed that he was still with his long-term girlfriend and that he doesn't do any dirt while on...
bro. Yo. Is this clip funny to anybody else? I'm just like...
Poor.
I know you thought about smashing Angela.
No.
From girlfriend, and that he doesn't do any dirt while on tour.
I know you thought about smashing Angela.
No, he has a girlfriend. You still have a girlfriend.
Hold up. Also, what is Charlamagne saying, bro? Is he trying to set Kendrick up with Angela Yee?
He doesn't do any dirt while on tour.
I know you thought about smashing Angela.
No, he has a girlfriend. You still have a girlfriend, right? Yeah, he laughed.
I know the black hippies get a lot of groupies, so I know you on the road doing your dirt.
I know that has to be
Does your girlfriend understand?
I mean, it's not really dirt. I'm just chilling. I don't be messing with the groupies like that.
Then I found...
Okay, feel you. That clip, too, was like he didn't really want to talk about it. So... I don't know. I'm just trying to be fair to the argument here.
On tour.
And, like, right now he's giving, like, the whole timeline of, like, every time Kendrick did Whitney bad. Our first example of it, you had some editing shit happen, so I get that, but we didn't hear the whole point.
I know you thought about smashing Angela.
No, he has a girlfriend. You still have a girlfriend, right? Yeah, he laughed.
I know the black hippies get a lot of groupies, so I know you on the road doing your dirt.
I know that has to be
Does your girlfriend understand?
I mean, it's not really dirt. I'm just chilling. I don't be messing with the groupies like that.
Then I found a tweet from Whitney's sister, which was 2 months after the festival, where she said, "He's been with my sister since high school. He's family. So when it comes to Drake's claims of doing Whitney dirty, this acts as another checkmark in the timeline.
And this is why Drake said you like to play sweet a few bars earlier. Now we can explain that.
Drake cleverly plays off his previous puppy love line to claim that Kendrick is a complete dog when it comes to women, and even 13 years ago, it was on the Buried Alive track where Kendrick is talking all about how he can't wait for his music to pop off so that he can live like Drake and smash groupies.
Hold up, what? That can't be how you interpreted Buried Alive.
I'ma go and get some head off the strength of my music. I tell a bad bitch, yo ass too fat, capitalize that. Your weave look good with the Indian tracks.
So,
alright, like, you gotta understand the setup of, like, he buried his old self alive, and that's the, you know, that's the version of him that, like, gets lost in the fame and shit. And then if he's ever in that position, he wants to trade spots with, and that's not to say, like, he ended up actually doing that in real life, but, like, this is a weird interpretation of the song that, like, doesn't take the context of the song.
Buried Alive track where Kendrick is talking all about how he can't wait for his music to pop off so that he can live like Drake and smash groupies.
Red, I'ma go and get some head off the strength of my music. I tell a bad bitch, yo ass too fat, capitalize.
Yeah, like, there's a whole story to the song, and you, like, touched on it before too, so that's, like, a funny way to interpret it now.
Your weave look good.
Alright, how much y'all want to bet he uses the clip again right after this?
Indian tracks.
So 13 years ago, Kendrick is saying he wants to get some head off the strength of his music, which
That's a crazy line, but I feel you, but I mean, that's not what the song is about.
Exactly what he did, as just 1 year and 8 months later, he would cheat on Whitney and dipped into the vanilla cream.
Like, this is valid. This fucking stock footage is funny as fuck. He used it earlier in the video too. But this is valid, right? Like, the argument is he's trying to play sweet. He cheated on his girl a bunch of times. Valid. The Buried Alive thing, like, that's not what the meaning of the song was. But I get that this is the point he's trying to make. Is that how are you gonna play sweet? Like, you've, like, had this high school sweetheart and, like, lie about it on interviews. So I get that.
Copenhagen. Nah, the crowd was different in Copenhagen, babe. Like, they really do love me out here. It's crazy.
And of course, Kendrick had to frame those lyrics like he...
Nah, I respect him. I respect him for... What's the editing program I use? Me? I got y'all. After this stream, since I don't really do streams, like, there's 30 people in here, whatever y'all wanna talk about this after. But I want to get through the video. I respect him for doing this breakdown and, like, really standing on, like, you know, like, these are the facts of, like, what Kendrick did. Do I think this section of it is a little, like, I think it's a little manipulated. Like, this whole point about Buried Alive and him rapping about go and get some head off the strength of my music and taking that as, like, 13 years ago he rapped about wanting head because his music's good. Like, you understand the whole song. Like, you listen to the song. So that's, like, a little bit of a shady framing.
So 13 years ago, Kendrick is saying he wants to get some head off the strength of his music, which is exactly what he did.
That's a weird framing of that line. Like, you could have kept that out and the point would have still been valid, you know?
1 year and 8 months later, he would...
That's like if you just played a clip from fucking Problems and you had Kendrick saying, yeah, I like to fuck, I got a fucking problem, and you were like, 13 years ago, he said he had a sex addiction, you know?
On Whitney and dipped into the vanilla cream at a festival in Copenhagen.
Nah, the crowd was different in Copenhagen, babe. Like, they really do love me out here. It's crazy.
And of course, Kendrick had to frame those lyrics like he had big plans of messing with thick queens with the weave looking on point, but in reality, he was gripping on a blonde ponytail and balls deep in skinny white ass. I mean...
What the fuck, bro? This is where, like, he's standing on, like, I'm gonna be unbiased, and I respect that. This is where you just, like, you don't make yourself sound like you're being impartial here. Even though, like, I'm fucking with all the points. Watch the breakdown, like, or watch this reaction to the breakdown up until now. Like, I think you've presented stuff really well. This is kind of, like, this is extraneous. Like, you're saying because the girl he described here sounds black, and then he, like, talked about started getting with white girls on tour, he was like making himself try to look better on this line. I think he should have left Buried Alive out of this. I can't lie.
Like he had big plans and messing with
that fucked it up for me. I can't lie, y'all. Like, I don't know how y'all felt about this little section, but
with the weave looking on point, but in reality, he was gripping on a blonde ponytail and balls deep in skinny white ass.
like, he shouldn't have brought up Buried Alive for this. I can't lie. The point was valid without it.
I mean, Kendrick might just be a milkman, right? A closeted milkman.
And after that, it's over. You wake up and you don't even know what you done.
I missed the show. I wish they'd bring it back. But leave some of your favorite moments in the comments, and I guarantee I'll get them.
You had a boo. Yeah. There was rumors that you got engaged. Yeah. Is that true? Yeah, definitely. Congratulations, man. That. Yeah, I'm loyal to the soil.
Yeah, I got engaged.
Okay, yeah. See, like, this is a good point. This is what he has to do.
Engaged.
Like, this
is that true? Yeah, definitely. Congratulations.
I don't even disagree with the point. Like, all right, he lied. He did lie about this. He said he was engaged, he's loyal to the soil, he goes on tour, he fucks a bunch of other bitches. But, like, the Buried Alive thing, and then this, that's just funny. That's kind of bad faith.
You had a boo. Yeah. There was rumors that you guys got engaged. Yeah. Is that true? Yeah, definitely. Congratulations, man. That. Yeah, I'm loyal to the soil.
Yeah, I got engaged, and I'm also really loyal too, by the way. Like, that's just, I'm Kendrick.
Fast forwarding in the timeline, that interview that you just saw was in
funny.
April 2015, where he claims that he's loyal
How do y'all feel about this section, though? This is, like, the section that really, like, I think woke me up. Like, I was like, damn, This breakdown just got interesting, because so far that like first point about the timeline, it got cut, so like I don't really know if there was really a parallel there. Then he talks about that specific tour, and then him talking on this podcast right after, and then he's like, he mentions this like Buried Alive shit that just didn't make any sense, and now he's back to like specific interview moments. I get that. So yeah, he lied about being loyal.
Soil. However, it's presumed that during that long break between Damn and Mr. Morale, that even more complicated family matters took place.
Insecurities that I project sleeping with other women. Whitney's hurt, the pure soul I know. I found her in the kitchen.
And Whitney did appear to leave him during this period.
But Whitney's gone. By the time you hear this song, she did all she could.
So that 5-year gap between Damn and Mr. Morale seems to be where the more complicated family matters took place.
And Kendrick's claims of being
like, I think Mar Young, like, I think it's important that, like, he's talking about this and, like, he's covering this pretty well. But that section, like, am I tripping? I want to hear a response from the comments. That section, I don't think it was done in good faith,
High school sweetheart from the jump was seemingly another lie, as we heard from Nitty Scott that she was in a relationship with Kendrick for a full year.
So shout out to Kendrick, that's the homie. Yeah, we had a brief thing.
Oh, okay. So it wasn't like a long-term relationship. The way I heard it was like, yo, she used to fuck with Kendrick. It wasn't like, yo, you were his like.
I'll put it like
that's a disrespectful thing to say to your female guest on your podcast.
Like,
I heard you used to fuck with Kendrick.
That was my boo. You know what I'm saying? Like, that was my thing. I was seeing him and him only for at least a year.
I think we can all agree in here that the high school sweetheart thing has been great for Kendrick, right? Right, good look. So I think we just ignore this.
So it's here where we close the timeline on the relationship, and it's understood that Kendrick admitted to some of these things himself, but this line from Drake is about the cycle of doing Whitney dirty, and by all accounts, this is extremely accurate.
But bro, he said he's not your savior. Like, guys, I know about Mr. Morale, but that doesn't change the fact that what Drake is saying here is true. He treated her poorly.
Yeah.
Being with his high school sweetheart was...
He treated her poorly, and he cheated on her. Valid. I have no problem with that being the line and that being the dirt that Drake used. I agree that, like, you're in a beef with him, say that, even if he brought it up on his album. But that whole section to me, like, that was just a weird way of presenting all that.
Part of Kendrick's brand, as it made him look like he was different than all the other rappers because he didn't change with the money and fame. It made him look loyal, but this isn't what took place at all.
We heard it a million times, right? Oh, Kendrick is really genuine. He's not like the other guys. He's still with his high school girlfriend. He's genuine.
It's within this first verse from Drake where he indicates
that... I can see that because it is a good PR look for a rapper like Kendrick. He like, we know he was honest about it on Mr. Morale, so it's not like it was something he was trying to like hide from the public, but I understand why Drake would bring it up as dirt.
Kendrick is just truly envious of the life that Drake lives. 13
This
years
relationship was
ago,
when they
Kendrick
broke up.
claimed he essentially wanted Drake's life, and Drake frames it like that didn't change. Drake has always had...
This is... I think I just need to do a breakdown on Buried Alive interlude. Because I get the interpretation of it you did in this video where you're like, it was jealousy. And then you also said something about him saying like, if he was dead, he'd reach Drake's spot. I think there was a misinterpretation of this song, which I think made this past argument about Whitney look kind of weird.
Essentially wanted Drake's life, and Drake
because that's not what this song is about.
13 years ago, Kendrick claimed he essentially wanted Drake's life, and Drake frames it like that didn't change. Drake has always had the freedom to sleep with any woman he wants, and while Kendrick positioned himself for over a decade as an honest and faithful guy to his high school girlfriend, this is simply not the case, as he was really moving more similar to...
I'm starting to like this clip now. I don't even have a problem with this clip anymore.
To his high school girlfriend, this is simply not the case, as he was really moving more similar to Drake than what people would like to admit. Drake is basically saying, you always wanted to live the life that I lived. You did live the life that I lived.
And this clip right here. We got the white girl stock footage, and then we got the Kendrick getting it thrown back on him stock footage.
As he was really moving more similar to Drake than what people would like to admit. Drake is basically saying, you always wanted to live the life that I lived. You did live the life that I lived. You just hid it from the world behind a sweetheart persona.
I heard that one of them little kids might be day free.
Yeah, see, if that's the whole like point, that is a valid point. I don't think he even necessarily like hit it if he talked about it on the whole album. But for him to interpret Buried Alive as Kendrick was jealous of the type of sex that Drake was having when he was famous, and he describes it... I'm gonna use those clips in my next breakdown. Nah, I got y'all. I'll throw them in the breakdown, and then if like the people that were in the stream will be the only ones who caught it. I'm gonna use the stock white woman too. Alright, fuck it.
Behind a sweetheart persona.
This is gonna be like 5 hours if I keep pausing this.
Okay, so first, to better understand his line, we need to look at what was said by both artists on the diss tracks that came before. On Push Ups, Drake started out the track with the Who Kid drop, which was something that none of us understood at the time. From there, he threw insults regarding Kendrick's height, said that his last album bricked, that TDE was extorting him, and he had the line about bodyguards with Whitney.
Then he dropped Taylor Made.
On Taylor Made, he used an AI Snoop and Tupac to mock Kendrick, questioned his authenticity, claimed he was powerless to Taylor Swift, and he ended off the track by claiming that Kendrick was in his New York apartment, struggling.
And then Kendrick said this on Euphoria.
If you take it there, I'm taking it further. That's something you don't want to do.
Okay, so the question is, take what where, take what further? What did Drake say in those two tracks that would make Kendrick react like this? Well, there's only two answers. Something to do with the Who Kid drop, which would indicate that he picked up on what it meant, or something to do with Whitney.
Kendrick is reacting to something here. It's either the bar about Whitney or the bar about the kid. It's one of the two.
Objectively speaking, it appears that Kendrick recognizes Drake has something on him, as he's deemed it significant enough to issue a threat.
We ain't gotta get personal. This a friendly fade. You should keep it that way.
I don't think we should take it there. Let's just keep it friendly. Like, I mean, he says it twice. There's zero doubt in my mind that Kendrick picked up on the fact that Drake had something on him. 100%.
Now, as far as this Day Free line,
that's a good catch. That's a good catch.
Sure where Drake heard this rumor, but he claims that one of Kendrick's kids might not be his, and due to the reference to the son just a few bars earlier, it's presumed this is who he's talking about. Now, to me, it's obvious that both children belong to Kendrick, as they clearly possess a number of his facial features. However, Drake only insinuates that this might be the case, which really makes me believe that at the very least, Drake is claiming that Whitney and Dave could have been messing around.
I'd be pretty much shocked if the kids weren't Kendrick's. Like, to me, we don't need a DNA test here.
However, there's no solid evidence that Whitney and Dave were ever involved, and it seems unlikely given how close Kendrick is with Dave. They continue to collaborate even on significant ventures like partnering for PG Lang.
So because this was supposed to be like the knockout punch for Drake, like he put a lot of stock in this info, I don't think he just made this up out of thin air. I think someone told him this and he bought it. He believed it.
Now, for me personally, I don't feel like the Not Like Us video proves that Kendrick and Whitney are still together. This is just my take, but I believe they separated a while ago, and the Mr. Morale album was a form of therapy for them, and I do believe they are now co-parenting.
That's just my opinion, guys. I do think Drake got this part right, but we'll see in time.
At the end of the day, Kendrick is the father of her children. She knew him since high school, right? And Drake did drag her into this beef, so I can't see why she wouldn't help Kendrick out with the video.
Fabricating stories on the family front because you heard Mr. Morale.
And I truly believe that lines like this one acted as a safety net, as it was Kendrick's way of trying to get ahead of these things before they came out.
Me personally, I believe that there just might be a layer of truth mixed in there somewhere.
So I think what he's getting at is the Dave Free stuff was just cap, but the when you put your hands on your girl stuff, like, I think he's gonna say he believes that part of it. Let's see though.
That Kendrick recognized he needed to step on.
He just said the Dave Free show was cap, right? It's a pretty big part of the song.
As far as Whitney sleeping with another man besides Kendrick, I saw people acting as if this was impossible.
Yo, the stock. I really fuck with the stock clips that he uses, and I wanna take inspiration from shit like this in my videos.
But I do feel like the psychological damage that Kendrick did to her throughout own infidelity would cause many women to seek that affection from someone else.
I mean, come on now, guys. Like, if you treat a woman like that for as long as he did, do you really think it's a 0% possibility that she might just eventually veer off with someone else?
So, speaking on the relationship as a whole, I believe these kids are Kendrick's, but I'm also not going to rule out that there just might be a layer of truth in here somewhere that Kendrick did a very good job of stepping on.
When you really look at the...
I honestly think this, like, isn't a fair way to cover it, because instead of just saying, like, Drake lied about one of his kids being Dave Freeze, which is, like, what happened, you kind of just said, like, it's a lie, but there might be a little bit of truth in there, which, like, isn't really how you're supposed to, like, cover this shit. Like, if no one's been able to prove that one of his kids are Dave Freeze, the line it's just cap and you move on.
Information and the situation at a whole, what I just said is not a crazy take to have. I think Kendrick's strategy of painting Drake as a liar and a manipulator and constantly driving that home, I think all that was done with a great deal of intent. I agree. It was very effective, right?
Because if your GM is your BM secret PD, then this is all making plenty fucking sense to me.
Drake claims that if Kendrick's general manager, Dave Free, is the real father of his child, then everything is starting to add up. The long wait in between Damn and Mr. Morale, the subject matter of Mr. Morale, the turmoil between Whitney and Kendrick, all now seems to add up for Drake.
Let that shorty breathe. Shake that ass, bitch. Hands on your knees. Shake that ass for Drake.
I can't lie, when I first heard this, like, those 30 minutes before Meet the Grams dropped, me and my roommates were going crazy to this shit. Like, y'all were there for those 30 minutes before Meet the Grams, when it was like, this is crazy. This part was crazy.
So it's here where Drake flips one of Kendrick.
The problem now is, like, if you just admitted that, like, he lied about this kid, you know, you can't just go, like, there might be a grain of truth in there, like, Whitney might have done something. I don't think that's a fair analysis of the line, then. I think you gotta call it cap when it's cap.
Funniest lines from Euphoria.
When I see you stand by sexy red, I believe you see two bad bitches. I believe you don't like women. It's real competition. You might pop ass with them.
When I heard these shots from Kendrick, I wondered how Drake would go about flipping this, and he does a pretty good job by playing off his previous track, Rich Baby Daddy, with Sexy Red.
Bend that ass over. Let that coochie breathe.
Drake starts off the line by saying...
And, like, just think about it. If the beef didn't play out how it did, Meet the Grams never happened, Not Like Us never happened, like, people would have been saying that shit at the club. Like, if this song ended up blowing up and it was, like, the end of the beef, like, it would have been crazy. But yeah, like, I don't know for sure. It's weird. It's a weird way to cover it right now.
Let that shorty breathe, possibly alluding to Kendrick being controlling in the relationship. It is a decent little flip as...
Yeah, and, okay, so Carmen's like, really... There's no way that Dave Free is the father of Whitney's son and that Kendrick is still working with him. And he says that. He says, nope, I don't think it's his kid, but I think there's some truth in there. Like, that feels a little... Like, what do you mean there's some truth in there? Like, you just said it was cap.
Ties it into the Dave Free and Whitney allegations, and this really could have been a crowd-pleasing moment, had Kendrick not stepped...
This is no disrespect on, like, the way he's covering this. Like, it's a hard song to cover. And, you know, he's doing his thing. But I will point out just kind of, like, you know, as someone who tries to make these types of videos, I will point out when, like, something feels a little weird.
On this track so quickly. This was supposed to be Drake live, putting the mic out, and everyone singing this part back.
At this point in the video...
Yeah, and Kendrick was ready. He dropped pretty, like, logistically. I don't think those lines about, or, like, when he dropped was really calculated. I don't think those lines calling him a liar were necessarily in defense of things, but let's just...
itself, the van has now been placed inside the crusher, and something else I wanted to add about this video is the fact that it's very low budget. It almost looks like it was filmed with cell phones, and when we think of how Kendrick approaches his music videos, they're extremely cinematic, and I think Drake could be doing this to kind of mock him.
I'm not even saying that's a thing. That's just something that I noticed.
Yeah, we're not that kind of free. I'm talking about my nigga Dave.
Drake proceeds to mock Kendrick by explaining the previous line, basically saying that Whitney doesn't need to shake ass for nothing, meaning she doesn't need to do it for free. She needs to shake it for day free.
Yo, man, a little KB.
We got it. Trust me, we got it.
To mock Kendrick by explaining the previous line.
Yeah, that line is crazy. But, like, you know, when people play Drake songs in the club, it's really only the hook anyway. Like, I feel like this part of it would have blown up if there was no response.
And basically saying
or at least he made it, like, for the reason of it blowing up, because everyone was singing that hook already from Rich Baby Daddy.
She doesn't need to shake ass for nothing, meaning she doesn't need to do it for free. She needs to shake it for day free.
Yo, man, a little KB.
That's just not funny to me, since, like, Drake did his own breakdown in the song.
That shit a mini Drake.
Drake makes a reference to a mini Draco gun, which is a smaller version of a regular Draco. It's here where he positions Kendrick as someone that he doesn't even see as a man, but more of a little kid. There's also the fact that the Draco was inspired by the AK-47, so really this little K line has three meanings, being 1, little Kendrick, 2, little kid, and 3, it's a direct reference to the Draco being inspired by the AK.
I don't think it means little kid.
47.
I don't think it means a little kid.
This is both a clever way of pointing out Kendrick's short stature and also a way of calling him little bro. There's also the fact that by Drake labeling Kendrick as a mini Drake, he's literally saying that Kendrick is a smaller extension of himself and alluding to the fact that he's nowhere near to being on Drake's level.
And he's also rebuttaling 2 of Kendrick's gun bars, one being Euphoria.
The very first time I shot me a Drake, the homie had told me to aim it this way.
And also to Like That record.
That's a K with all these nines. He gonna see Pet Cemetery now.
So not only is this a good punchline, but he also has a couple rebuttals in there, which is something that we give points for in battle rap.
Kid.
This is a thing.
He always said I overlooked him. I was staring straight.
This line acts as a double entendre.
Little kid. I doubt that one.
Where 1, Drake alludes to Kendrick's height, he literally overlooks him because he's taller, and 2, Drake is only focused on people he considers to be on his level. He looks straight ahead, meaning he only acknowledges artists who are the same caliber as himself. Drake doesn't view Kendrick as being on his level. So Drake claims that the bars are going right over Kendrick's head, which is a phrase that we often use in hip-hop when the bars are so complex that the audience doesn't catch it. Secondly, it's obviously another short joke where the bars are literally going over Kendrick's head due to his short size. So again, another jab at Kendrick for his short stature, and while I felt like the short jokes were already played out in push-ups, I got to thinking, maybe Drake knows that Kendrick is insecure about this. Even when Drake dropped that track, he shared a story promoting it where he said, "Out on all platforms, like the shoes you need," and there are many instances of Kendrick wearing footwear where he seems to be trying to gain a couple inches.
I mean, maybe it is a sore spot for Kendrick.
I know you like to keep it short, so let me paraphrase.
That's an assumption right there, but I'll take it.
Short joke, and even if this does get under Kendrick's skin a little bit, at this point, Drake is wasting valuable real estate here, and it's time to move on.
Knew it was smoke when Abel hit us with the serenade. Niggas say, almost started reaching for my waist.
Drake clowns The Weeknd as he was one of the artists that took shots at Drake recently and has remained a target. It's here where he sarcastically pretends to be afraid of The Weeknd, suggesting that he's reaching for his waist to get a pistol.
He's basically saying, like, oh no, don't get the big bad Weeknd after me.
It's at this point in the music video where the van gets crushed and Drake syncs this with the hook of the track. Now, the act of crushing this van in particular is Drake's way of saying, I helped bring you into this thing, and now I'm taking you out of it. Good Kid, Mad City is among one of the best hip-hop albums of all time. It certainly makes my list, and this is a pretty slick chess move from Drake.
As dramatic as it is, I think the crushing the van shit is dope. Like, it's a good visual. It feeds into what Drake's trying to do on this record.
Something else you'll notice about the hook is that this time, Drake cuts the track off before he says PG and inserts 3 gunshots instead.
I was really trying to keep it.
So this whole time, he did want to keep this just to Kendrick, but now he's firing on everyone.
Stop playing around and take this shit seriously. Niggas is a joke, I take it serious though.
And now we get to part 2, and this is really where Drake really starts to rap.
Now, as far as the visuals go for the second portion
I was looking forward to the second half of it, or the second third of it. I think when it comes to that first third, there was a little bad faith in this breakdown when it came to covering, like, that timeline you made of the Whitney-Kendrick relationship. I just think the way you, like, covered it and then brought Buried Alive into it was strange, because, like, you had like a pretty solid understanding of the Buried Alive song at the beginning of the breakdown, and then you kind of took some lines out of context there. But other than that, like, really solid breakdown of that first third.
So, Drake showcases a Mercedes hearse from multiple angles. He shows off the exterior a few times and then focuses on the inside of the vehicle itself. You'll notice that the location of where the casket is usually secured is empty, and this is a visual that Drake focused.
You already watched this shit? How?
Location of where the casket is usually secured is empty, and this is a visual that Drake focuses on. I believe the reason for an empty hearse is to symbolize that the Good Kid, Mad City van acted as the coffin for Kendrick. When the van is crushed, Kendrick is buried, and the empty hearse demonstrates that the job has been done.
That is my best interpretation of it.
However, another layer comes into play when we look into the make and model of this hearse in particular. This took me a lot of digging, and I looked at more hearses than I would like to admit, but you can see that the Maybach model has the exact same interior.
All the other hearses I looked at do not look like this one. This is the Maybach hearse.
Drake's reason for using a Maybach hearse is impactful because when Kendrick first met Drake, this was the vehicle that he used to pick him up.
A white waitress on standby when we need a black Maybach 40 pulled up, Jeep, no doors.
So I feel like Drake is basically saying, I used a Maybach to pick you up. That was the start of our relationship and me helping you. I helped get you to Good Kid, Mad City. I helped you with Good Kid, Mad City. I'm crushing the van. I'm burying you. This is your funeral. And I did this with a Mercedes Maybach hearse.
So the vehicle I brought you in with is the vehicle I just took.
That was a nice catch, man. That was a nice catch. Yeah, I had listened to Slime You Out again, because I was about to go see SZA when I was at Lala. And I noticed that line, and I was like, shit, that does not look good after this beef at all. It's a weird line. That's worse than the one he used on the diss track.
With pretty much.
It's here where Drake puts on a clinic, really sliding on this beat.
Drake shooters doing TikToks, nigga, really shooting your gang. That's peace, brother, y'all ain't getting shit shot, nigga.
Picking up from where he left off, Drake starts out the verse with some more bars for The Weeknd and his crew. First, he makes a reference to The Weeknd's claims on a recent track called All to Myself.
They shooters making TikToks.
It's on this track where The Weeknd alludes to
I cannot believe, like, out of this beef, we got all this, like, stupid ass little shit, like The Weeknd having a 3-bar diss track on Drake. Like, there are so many little side plots from this I could get into, or he probably will get into too.
Drake's OVO goons.
It's funny looking back, because you only really remember, like, the big moments.
Not Nice is posting on TikTok.
Hello, good morning, bitch. How you doing today?
Drake claims that one of his former colleagues, P. Rain, is the brother of The Weeknd's best shooter, Gilla.
Drake is basically saying, like, I'm in good with your #1 goon. He's friends of OVO. Like, you're not gonna do shit to me.
Yeah, they shot his bodyguard though. They shot his bodyguard right after Not Like Us dropped. XO did. That beef is probably, like, more, like, real when it comes to life and death than the Kendrick one is, which is crazy to think about. Like, the Weeknd Drake beef.
So it's here where Drake dishes out a triple entendre. First off, Drake continues to respond to the All to Myself track by telling The Weeknd that he doesn't want to hear any threats coming from a singing artist. While Drake also sings, The Weeknd is primarily an R&B and pop artist. Secondly, Drake also references Stick Talk, a track by Future, to imply that if The Weeknd's going to collaborate with Future, he should leave this kind of talk to him. Last but not least, the line has a far deeper meaning as The Weeknd has a goon that goes by the name of Styx.
And Styx is someone that's been mentioned by The Weeknd before. So, I mean, he's clearly labeling Styx as one of his shooters, right?
So even coming back to the previous line about Gilla being the only real shooter in The Weeknd's crew, Drake is basically calling this Styx guy a joke, like he's not the guy that The Weeknd thinks he is.
So that right there is a triple entendre and a really good one.
Drake points out how The Weeknd is hardly ever in Toronto, and when he does visit, it's just like a typical tourist, stopping for a brief moment and leaving again. He also makes reference to a song by Selena Gomez, which is called Souvenir, and this was someone that The Weeknd was in a relationship with, and the Souvenir record itself is actually written about The Weeknd.
Damn.
So I hope
Alright. I did not catch that. Good shit. Good shit.
And the Souvenir record itself is actually written about The Weeknd.
So I hope at this point in the video you could at least say that for the people that claim that Drake can't be layered, like he definitely can be layered, and he has been layered.
I appreciate this breakdown because it is making me like see new shit about the song that I never would have thought of. So I'm fucking with it.
For a very long time.
Like I said, back to that shit about Kendrick.
Now, it's hard to pinpoint exactly who Drake might be referencing, but I personally believe he's hinting at a woman named Just Tokyo. I first broke this connection in my push-ups breakdown, noting that she's been seen with both Drake and Future. Another potential hint that I noticed is Drake's use of the word lip lock, which Future also used in his popular track, Thought It Was a Drought.
I just had some bitches and I made them lip lock.
For me, it was a clue because, you know, this was a big record for Future, and lip lock is also pretty specific.
So I believe that it's in this line where Drake seems to let Future know that he didn't even sleep with this woman, all he did was kiss her. So I believe this is also another triple, as first, he's saying that when it comes to beef, he hasn't even begun to retaliate or cook yet. Secondly, he's basically saying that beef gets him excited, and when it's time for war, he gets active. And lastly, following the previous line about kissing...
He just said it's a double entendre, and the second meaning is he gets hard whenever he's in rap beef with people. It's crazy.
And when it's time for war, he gets active. And lastly, following the previous line about kissing, he's implying that in his conflicts, he's notorious for sleeping with his rivals' women. And in this case, he's saying that he hasn't even stooped to that level yet, hence he hasn't let his dick drop.
And I know people think Drake is lame for smashing other people's girls for revenge, but if you really don't like someone, that's probably the best way you could get back at them. Like, a broken nose is gonna heal, but a broken heart, that shit takes a lot longer. You're hitting them where it hurts.
So it's here where Drake really starts to turn up with his use of the N-word.
I don't really feel like the dick drop shit was a triple, I will say.
Combating Ross's claims of Drake being a white boy.
White boy, BBL Drizzy, I got a question.
Drake directly shoots down Ross's claims of him having a nose job.
And a whole bunch of celebrity...
I just gotta admire the fact that Rick was not in the position to diss Drake at all, bro. And he still did it. And we got BBL Drizzy off of that. But he had no place to diss Drake. Like, in the middle of all that Diddy shit, it was not the time.
Plastic surgeons, they also debunked this.
I'm not really seeing anything obvious here. So I don't think that Drake is nose job Drizzy.
So it's in these words heard Rick drop where we get another double entendre where one, Ross dropped a diss track towards Drake called Champagne Moments, and two, Rick Ross has had several medical incidents such as seizures and rumored heart attacks where he did indeed drop.
So to me, this could also be a clever play on Ross's health issues.
I think that's a double entendre for sure.
Lastly, Drake alludes to Rick Ross's use of Ozempic to help
if Rick Ross was using Ozempic, he would have lost some weight. I said that before I saw the second picture. Shit, he did lose some weight. Damn, I love streaming, y'all. That would be like a funny ass moment to clip.
Lastly, Drake alludes to Rick Ross's use of Ozempic to help with weight loss and insinuates that he's jealous of Drake's success, which is honestly even more clever wordplay, linking to Drake's previous lines about getting active.
And like I said, he really starts to rap here because up next, we get multiple double entendres.
In the first couple words, Drake says, put a dude in the bars, and this has two meanings where one, he's physically rapping about Rick Ross and spitting bars about him, and two, he refers to Ross's former career as a correctional officer where he was literally responsible for surveilling other men behind bars.
So that's one double.
Next, Drake says, let a dude rot, which also has multiple meanings where one, it's a common phrase for inmates that do long bids that they rot in prison. Two, Drake is claiming that Ross's career will now rot, meaning he's about to fall off without Drake's help. And three, coming off the line about jail bars, he's referring to the type of steel used for the bars, which is called wrought iron.
I got to give a thanks to my days in construction for helping me with that last one, but
crazy.
That line is crazy.
Okay.
It is.
Okay, wait. Just, I gotta say some shit about it. I don't feel like the rot in prison and then rot in the rap game is like, that's not really a double entendre. But that being the name of the jail bars is crazy. I agree.
Drake continues to fire at Rick Ross here as they were clowning each other over real estate, and in this case, Drake seems to be referring to Ross's mansion in Georgia, essentially saying that it's in the middle of nowhere.
Bitches gotta drive 2 hours for your pay just to give a blowjob, nigga.
Again, Drake continues to take shots at Ross by claiming that he's so out the way that women need to drive 2 hours just to get to him, and he's also insinuating that Ross has to pay in order to get women at all. Lastly, he frames it like Ross only pays for blowjobs.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, yeah, he shouldn't have spent this much time just cooking Ross. He did cook Ross. Like, these are crazy, but, like, bro, if he should have spent, like, 10% of this power level just, like, making fun of Kendrick,
Actually hinting that he's too fat to even have sex.
Which tells me that Drake has probably been talking with some of the women that's connected to Ross.
On social media, Ross seemed to claim that he had more money than Drake, and in response, Drake is essentially saying that Ross must be high to believe this.
Yeah, and now I get those 3 shots at the beginning of the verse. I think it's like 1 shot at Ross, 1 shot at The Weeknd, 1 shot at Rocky, and he doesn't take that 4th shot at Future. And I think it's interesting that he doesn't diss Future. I think that kind of shows to some extent he needs him / he like still wants to make music with him in the future. Like that's a relationship that's still salvageable. I think that kind of comes out of from a place of weakness, just like looking at it kind of like bird's eye view, because like Future fully allowed this to happen and like was fully the reason this all started and like has taken a side. So for him to like be like, damn, I wish we were still friends, it's cool that this had to happen, and then blame it on Metro. I guess it was 4 disses. He also dissed Metro.
That his own record deal alone was worth $400 million.
And he's saying that now that's low.
Who's next on the list? Which one of my so-called niggas need a chef on the clip?
So it's here where Drake leans into the 20v1 narrative, highlighting that everyone he's currently beefing with were once his friends, people he helped in various ways.
Stole his name
and he's framing it like he's thinking, which one of these
the
bums am I gonna fire on next?
I always knew I had to smoke out niggas.
And I saw that many people were saying that Drake should have just focused his diss solely on Kendrick Lamar instead of all these other artists, and I have to agree with this. It seems to me that Drake noticed the success of the Push-Ups track and how the 20v1 narrative really resonated with a lot of listeners, so he decided to continue with this approach.
Remember, in the beginning, people were like, holy shit, Drake is taking on everyone by himself. Like, he's not backing down.
Good kid, man, city fan. We'll tears running down my cheek, laughing at you, pussy down. It's a war crime.
Drake starts flexing, claiming ownership of Kendrick's family van. He opens the latch and lines up all his enemies for a metaphorical drive-by. He claims that taking out his ops will be so satisfying that he'll laugh.
Yeah, like, I think it is a moment of weakness that he could diss everybody that went against him except Future. And I think, at the end of the day, Future didn't even have any bars directed towards Drake on either album. He did drop that one. Like, there's shit that you could interpret as towards Drake, like the fact that the album is called We Don't Trust You. But he wasn't as direct about it either. I still think that's like a moment of weakness there. If you really want to come out and say, like, it's you against everybody, and then you're like, I don't want to take shots at you. Like, I wish we were still friends. Like, I'm tight that Metro talked you into this.
Tears run down his face. Drake then turns his attention to The Weeknd and insinuates that his music is being played in places of the
I like this clip though. I like this clip that he found. Bro looked through every Weeknd video to find...
Turns his attention to The Weeknd and insinuates that his music is being...
to find the gay couple dancing in the crowd.
Played in places of the LGBT
That's
community.
To detail right there.
That's why all your friends dip into Atlanta paying just to find a tour guide.
So again, following with the theme here, Atlanta...
Yeah, wait, the beginning song. The Pillow Talking. Can you remind me what that line was again? Yeah, that was...
is ranked as one of the gayest cities in America, and Drake claims that the XO crew are frequent flyers.
Able run your fucking bread, need to buy some more chains for some more guys. Let me find another street nigga I can take to the game courtside.
It's here where Drake is speaking from the perspective of The Weeknd's manager Cash, framing the situation like Cash is asking The Weeknd for more money so that he can spend it on lavish items for other men. I found many examples of him doing this where he's bought chains for people like Travis Scott, Playboy Cardi, Lil Wayne, Ken Carson, Gunna, Post Malone, Future, Metro, Young Thug, French Montana, and while I couldn't find any examples of him courtside with other rappers, I'm sure Drake also said this for a reason.
He's pretty much doubling down on what he said on Push-Ups.
Cash blowing, able bread out here tricking. Shit we do for bitches, he doing for niggas.
I think Push-Ups is underrated. Like, I listen to that record still.
What I will say though is he's tricking.
We do for bitches, he doing for
shit we do for bitches. So he's admitting he does the shit that he just accused Rick of doing, which is paying bitches for blowjobs. Which is like, you know, you're that rich, do what you want with your money, as long as I guess it's legal. But you know,
I think Push-Ups is
he said it. This is a line where he basically just says he's tricking.
Push-Ups.
Cash blowing, able bread out here tricking. Shit we do for bitches, he doing for niggas.
I think Push-Ups is underrated. Like, I listen to that record still all the time.
Let me get a useful ride for a rapper, take the nigga on a horse ride.
Drake continues to rap from Cash's perspective, explaining to The Weeknd that he needs money to purchase sports cars for other men. He specifically mentions a Ferrari, famous for its horse logo, implying that Cash is giving other rappers a horse ride. It is a pretty clever line, as Ferraris are typically two-seater cars, while horse rides are often seen as a romantic activity for couples.
And I couldn't find any examples of him buying cars for other rappers, but Drake probably knows something that we don't.
Anything to take a spotlight off the fact the boss is a drugged out little punk sissy from the north side.
This line is a direct diss aimed at The Weeknd,
I'm getting a little bored at the Weeknd shit.
Owns the XO record label, positioning him as the boss.
But the
Drake accuses Cash and The Weeknd's crew of doing everything possible to conceal the fact that The Weeknd is a closeted drug user and homosexual. Drake refers to him as a punk, which is jail slang for being gay, and reinforces this with the term sissy, another word associated with homosexuality. Finally, he points out that The Weeknd is from the
breakdown, bro. He said
another word associated with homosexuality. Finally, he points out that The Weeknd is from the north side.
He did not need a breakdown on what punk and sissy meant,
referencing Toronto's location in North America.
When it comes to XO, Cash and Sal are from the Middle East somewhere. So he's making it clear he's talking about The Weeknd, the boss, the guy from the north side.
Talking shit again. Gas cause you hit my being first, nigga. Do the math while I was hitting there.
See, this part was the craziest though. Like, I think out of everyone that he dissed on Family Matters, the person he got the worst was Rocky. And I was saying this at the beginning, I'll say it again. Like, I dropped that short about Rocky sending shots at Drake on Hijack, and half the comments where he should have modeled because it's mid again. Like, the Rocky shit, like, it made an impact, and I don't really feel like Rocky can respond without looking petty, because he already said he doesn't care about the rap beef. So
guy from the north side.
Talking shit again. Gas cause you hit my being first, nigga. Do the math while I was hitting there.
It's here where Drake fires at ASAP Rocky, whose real name is Rakim, as Rocky dissed Drake on Future's track Show of Hands, where he flexed on Drake for sleeping with his baby mama, Sophie.
Flacco hit it first, son.
I don't know why ASAP thought this was a good angle, because he really walked into this one.
Drake really flips this narrative on its head, as he has a long history of dating Rocky's wife, Rihanna. Rocky is then asked to do the math to determine who Drake was sleeping with at that time.
True, Dolphinitely? Rihanna never claimed to date Drake. I think a lot of people just see the work video, and then they're like, you know, it's a rap for ASAP. But
Rocky is then asked to do the math to determine who Drake was sleeping with at that time.
This is a pretty funny, like, frame. Like, you know, just the math in the background.
And while we do know that Rocky dated Sophie at one point, there are no concrete dates for us to base this on, but it's obvious Drake was sleeping with Rihanna at this time.
So again, like Rocky set Drake up for a slam dunk rebuttal here. And I honestly feel like Drake is dropping another clue here with the word math, as this is a subject that Rihanna is academically gifted in, even choosing to teach it in places like Africa.
I did not know
Rihanna
that.
spent time with students at a local school.
Damn, that is that's a good little entendre there that I did not catch.
In even choosing to teach it in places like Africa.
Rihanna spent time with students at a local school. She helped them with math.
He's pretty much saying, look, Rocky, if you can't figure out the math, bro, just go see the tutor. She'll fill you in. Something else I noticed is that Drake calls Rocky, Metro Boomin, and The Weeknd by their first names, and I see this as more of a slight to Rocky, where he's more or less saying, none of you guys are rappers to me.
I ain't even know you rap still, because they only talking about your fit again.
Drake trolls ASAP Rocky for focusing more.
I don't think that's a stretch. I think that's probably the real reason why.
On the fashion industry than releasing music. This could also be in reference to how over the last few years, Rocky has publicized far more for his fashion than for his music. It was a while back that Joe Budden said the exact same thing.
When the fuck was nigga talking about ASAP Rocky?
So Drake echoes the same sentiment here, claiming that nobody talks about Rocky's music. All you ever hear about is the fashion.
Probably gotta have a kid again before you think of dropping any shit again.
Furthermore, Rocky hasn't dropped an album since 2018, and in the span
I will stand behind Testing being amazing though.
2 children, one in 2022 and another in 2023. He's basically saying that there's a better chance of ASAP having another kid than putting out music that anyone cares about.
Even when you do drop, they gon' say you should've modeled because admit again.
Drake claims that when ASAP Rocky does drop an album, it's gonna be lackluster, and it's here where he takes shots at Rocky's 2018 album Testing. While the album did have mixed reviews, it was his lowest selling album, and Drake states that the next album won't be any different, and that the people will say that he should have just modeled.
He did a good job kind of like raising the stakes for Rocky going forward. I can't lie, like now already off Hijack. I thought Hijack was a good song too. All the comments, like he's getting cooked in the comments of that short right now. So it's having an impact on public perception. I want to get back to the Kendrick shit though.
Drake continues firing on Rocky, claiming that he's smoking Fenty, which is short for the...
Yo, I do not have the attention span for these. I can't lie to you. Like, I feel like that's why I make my breakdowns, you know? For, like, the 10-minute... You don't got to catch every little thing, but just, like, get caught up.
Fentanyl, but also the name of Rihanna's beauty line.
But respect, though. Like, it obviously takes a lot more work to make one of these than anything I've made, so...
It's here where Drake also mentions Rocky's claims on Future and Metro's Show of Hands, where Rocky basically said, if you guys were dissing Drake, you should have called me earlier. You know I'm down.
Call up Pluto, Metro should have put me on the first one.
Metro and Future had 2 albums back-to-back dissing Drake, but Rocky was only on the second one. So he's basically saying, you should have just called me the first time. I would have been down.
Ask Fring if this a good idea the next time you cuddled in a bed again.
Drake brings up his nickname for Rihanna, Fring, which is related to the TV show Breaking Bad, as she was a fan of the show, and Gustavo Fring was her favorite character. By bringing up the nickname too, that's pretty petty, because he's reminding ASAP, I got an intimate past with your wife, right?
She'll even tell you later.
And Drake named a restaurant Fring, or Frings. I guess the story is that it was while he was dating Rihanna, or it was like a tribute to Rihanna. If they never dated and he named that restaurant Fring, off of that, that's some crazy shit. Like he's definitely in his bag. But if they dated, either way, he named a restaurant Frings. And, you know, I think if anything, it kind of shows how obsessed he was with her.
He then mentions that even Rihanna herself will tell Rocky to leave Drake alone before he gets his head split again. He's pretty much saying Rihanna...
I fucked with We Don't Trust You more. I can't lie. Like Fried, Slimed In. That album, I listened to the whole thing, like, first time, whole way through with my roommates. We didn't know that, like, we didn't look at the features. We didn't know Kendrick was about to be on it. Our reaction to that, like, we had people in our house when we listened to it. Like, that was a moment right there. I actually tried to do the same thing when We Still Don't Trust You came out. I put it on while we were all there. Like, we weren't really paying attention. So, We Don't Trust You, definitely the better album.
Even knows that Drake is a way better rapper. She's gonna tell Rocky, look, bro, like, you don't want to go at Drake anymore. He just mopped you on Family Matters. You should probably leave him alone. However, the line about getting his head split has some very clever wordplay, as not only did Rocky suffer a head injury,
But on Breaking Bad, the character Fring had an accident where he lost half of his face. It really is high-level writing, and maybe
that's a good double entendre that I didn't catch about Gus Fring, and I forgot about that.
He should have stuck to Kendrick, but you cannot deny that he really is.
He cooked Rocky here. He really cooked Rocky. He really cooked Ross. The Weeknd he kind of cooked, but then like didn't the Weeknd shoot his bodyguard? So like all the shit he was talking about him being soft and gay, like kind of didn't work out for him.
Cooking these.
But yeah, Rocky and Ross.
Shit made me sick to my stomach. We ain't never really been through it.
Now, Drake seems to take it light on Future in this beef, more or less saying that they don't really have any major issues.
Lil Wayne, you're fucking lame, so I know he had to be an influence.
Drake name drops Metro Boomin and claims that he's the likely cause of the issues between Drake and Future.
These niggas had a plan and they finally found a way to roll you into it. 2 separate albums, this and I just did a Kim to it. Niggas skimmed through it.
Drake claims that he didn't pay much attention to the 2 albums that Metro and Future released that were filled with disses aimed at him, describing them as mediocre and only skimming through it. He then makes a clever wordplay involving Kim Kardashian, who owns the clothing brand Skims, referencing how she promoted Kanye's Donda album with the sound muted. Fans quickly caught on to the...
That's crazy. I forgot about that shit. That is definitely what it's a reference to. These are some good catches, bro. This is some good shit.
How she promoted Kanye's Donda album.
I like how he covered this whole like section of the song.
With the sound muted. Fans quickly caught on to the subtle jab, likely directed at Kanye, who had appeared on a remix of the Like That record.
Me and Savage had a whole dripping wet shows, almost had to swim to it.
Coming off the last line about Kim Kardashian, Drake appears to mention her again here, referencing a video that surfaced of his It's a Blur tour, where Kim looks very happy to see him, and Drake seemingly ignores her. By Drake claiming that him and Savage had all the hoes dripping wet at their shows, he could be referencing Kim's behavior.
I think that might be a stretch.
In this very moment.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm pretty sure he slept with her before, but he could have piped her down that night. Who knows? I'm pretty sure he slept with her before, but he could have piped her down that night. Who knows?
I don't want to hate. But like, that just felt like a little like why you watching his dick like that? Like,
I'm pretty sure he slept with her before, but he could have piped her down that night. Who knows?
Why are you talking about him like that?
So a lot of people seem to take this...
You're not even trying to hide the speculation, like, when it comes to it being a breakdown, but on a simple level, like, bro, he's not going to let you hit.
As if Drake was saying that Baby Keem was physically writing for Kendrick, but
he's not going to pipe you down.
I don't think that's what he means. If you look at Kendrick's...
What is it he said about the white girl earlier in the video? He was like, he got mad graphic about the white girl on tour that Kendrick slept with.
Mr. Morale, Baby Keem is listed as a writer on N95, Die Hard, and Savior, and these were some of the standout tracks.
And some of that credit, I think, was just for ad-libs.
Then we got tracks like Range Brothers and Family Ties, which were truly in heavy rotation, and more in line with something that Drake would probably consider to be hit-worthy music.
I've argued that Kendrick's verse on the Like That record was some of the best rapping that we got in the entire beef, and that record was #1, and so was Not Like Us.
Ross calling me the white boy, and the shit kinda got a ring to it. Cause all these rappers waving white flags while the whole fucking club sing to it.
Rick Ross had referred to Drake as a white boy on countless occasions, and it's here where Drake seems to be predicting the outcome of the war, assuming that after Family Matters, all of his enemies would bow out of the race.
And I honestly, like, I could have seen this happening too. Like, when it first dropped, the hook that sounded like Rich Baby Daddy, the second part, like, this would have been in all the clubs. So this line was crazy.
You know, I do like the line, but again, like, this just proves that Family Matters was the one. This was the one that people were supposed to be singing in the club. This was supposed to embarrass everyone.
It's here where Drake has a religious reference, which is a good indication that this is directed at Kendrick. He claims that Family Matters will be the death of Kendrick, and that he's so petty, he'll show up to the candlelight vigil. Drake uses a play on words here to reference Rick Ross's former job as a CO. He claims that he's got...
Yeah, bro, Freddie, all I said was, like, you're doing a breakdown on the song, and then you go, he probably piped Kim Kardashian. Like, it's not relevant to the song, dog.
Dropping left, right, and center, all while Ross reads him his Miranda rights. You know when the police tell you, you got the right to remain silent, get a lawyer, yada yada. He's claiming that Rick Ross is doing that part.
I'm going on vacation. I hope next time y'all plan it right.
Drake claims that now that he's addressed all the other rappers who have been dissing him, he's now finally ready to take a break. Now, obviously, as it stands right now, some of these lines did not age very well, but he definitely cooked A$AP Rocky, The Weeknd, and his crew, and Rick Ross in this verse.
You gotta pay for saying my name. Guess now niggas understand the price, man.
Drake really is rapping on that verse. He's locked in. He's sliding on the beat.
Yeah, that's like, I think just that alone, no context, anything. Like for me, shit like just to listen to might be the best verse of the beef. Like without any of the other context, whatever. Like that shit was crazy.
Real smooth. Like, I don't know how anyone could really deny that he really is rapping in this verse.
Yeah. It's at this point where we get to the third beat of the track and the visuals change to a shot of the New Ho King restaurant, which was mentioned by Kendrick in Euphoria.
It's wild how much business this place got just because Kendrick mentioned it.
Yeah.
Next, we see a Toronto-based rapper.
I love that video too. The owner was mad happy. He sounded like he never heard of Kendrick's name in his life. He was like,
haven't seen with Drake too often on camera, and he goes by the name of TV Gucci. A friend of mine, Ricky from the We Love Hip Hop Network, recently interviewed this guy, and here's all that he would say.
Basically, I don't involve myself in politics. So the question you're asking, G, is like a politic question. You know what I mean? Like, I can say something positive or negative, and it could be somebody will take it into their own way. So me personally, G, I come from the streets, man. We don't talk about beef, fam.
Next, they begin to walk into the restaurant, and on the left-hand side, a quick shot of what looks like Jeremiah, Drake's right-hand man next to Chubbs. The scene then shows TV Gucci approaching both Drake and Chubbs, who are seated inside the restaurant having a conversation around some food. Interestingly enough, after this restaurant was mentioned by Kendrick on Euphoria, they created a Kendrick Lamar special, and it appears that Drake has ordered that meal as all the items appear on the table, with the exception of the beef and broccoli.
I heard there's a Kendrick Lamar special. Is that true? No problem. All right, I'm excited, man.
Was the New Ho King House special fried rice. Order this was this deep fried shrimp dish.
Should make me hungry, yo. Been on stream for 2 hours, 20 minutes.
Spicy chicken wings. So what this beef broccoli definitely came hot off the wok.
Now, I can only speculate, but I feel that this may have been intentional, as the camera clearly pans over the food, and the absence of the beef portion of the meal could indicate that it's here where the beef ends. A number of empty plates are shown, meaning that they did eat something, whereas the other dishes look untouched.
It really reminded me of what Drake said to Meek. He served me up a cheesesteak, I gave him back a clean plate. Like, there's clean plates on the table, the beef is done.
Can you just open his mouth? Someone go hand him a Grammy right now.
Drake then comes with a line that made a lot
Wait, hold up.
Drake said to
did eat something, whereas the other dishes look untouched. Empty plates are shown, meaning that they did eat something, whereas the other dishes look untouched.
It really reminded me of what Drake said to Meek. He served me up a cheesesteak, I gave him back a clean plate. Like, there's clean plates on the table.
There's one clean plate. Huh?
Beef is done.
Can you just open his mouth? Someone go hand him a Grammy right now.
I feel like this was a stretch, but it's okay. Like it is funny that he ordered the Kendrick special though. I didn't catch that.
It's on the table. The beef is done.
Can you just open his mouth? Someone go hand him a Grammy right now.
Drake then comes with a line that made a lot of people laugh. Kendrick has definitely had massive success when it comes to the Grammys, but I believe this line is deeper than how most people see it. Who could forget the 2014 Grammy Awards when Macklemore won Best Rap Album over Kendrick? This result caused an absolute uproar and created a big headache for the Grammys, and it seems like ever since this mistake happened, the Grammys are quick to award Kendrick every single time he's mentioned. The Grammys have been accused of racial bias for many years now, and Drake could be saying that Kendrick getting a Grammy is pretty much like a participation award. He doesn't deserve it, but they're afraid of not giving it to him.
You can't, like, I actually get the point, but you can't say that with him accepting the To Pimp a Butterfly award on stage. Like, that's the one he deserved. But, like, I get the point.
Is pretty much like a participation award. He doesn't deserve it, but they're afraid of not giving it to him.
I don't know about this one.
I could see an argument for what Drake is saying. Like, I went through all the Grammys that he's won. Most of them, to me, were deserved. Many are subjective. And then there are some where I felt like he shouldn't have won.
Where's your uncle at? Cause I wanna talk to the man of the house.
Valid.
Drake appears to make reference to Kendrick's track Auntie Diaries.
I could see that. I would have to see like who he was up against other years, whatever. But you can't show the. I guess that's just the editing. You can't show that To Pimp a Butterfly Grammy while you're saying like it's a participation trophy. But I feel you.
Deserved. Many are subjective, and then there are some where I felt like he shouldn't have won.
Here he says many are deserved.
Cause I wanna talk to the man of the house.
Drake appears to make reference to Kendrick's track Auntie Diaries from Mr. Morale, as it's on this track where he reveals that his aunt transitioned to be his uncle. It's here where Drake dishes out a petty line, insinuating that Kendrick's transitioned uncle is more of a man than him.
Look, I got no smoke with the trans community, but that's funny.
As far as the visuals, is during the bar about the uncle where Drake looks into the camera with a big smile. You'll also notice that Drake is wearing the same FUBU shirt as well as the G-Unit chain that was shown at the beginning of the track.
West Coast niggas do phase, right? Come get this ass whooping, I'm in and I'm out.
Drake doesn't seem to view Kendrick as being a tough guy at all. Keep in mind, Drake definitely does tower over Kendrick, and he seems entirely open to shooting the fade, meaning to fight in West Coast slang.
You wanna take over for real? Then come get his legacy out of my house.
So in Euphoria, Kendrick mentioned how he was more than happy to defend Pharrell, and when Drake says to come get his legacy out of his house, he really isn't joking here. Drake purchased a bunch of Pharrell's custom jewelry from an auction, and these are literally some of the most iconic pieces of jewelry in the history of the music business.
If you don't believe me, this is how the auction site described the chains.
One of the most historic pieces of contemporary jewelry that represents an incomparable artist at an incomparable time with incomparable creativity.
And at one point, Drake read those exact same words, and he bought it all.
So these pieces are absolutely iconic in the hip-hop world, and Drake first showcased them in his Jumbotron music video. This is likely how Pharrell discovered
I'm
that
not even ready to say that that's not like a valid point, because yeah, like the Grammys did get a lot of uproar because he didn't win against the Heist, but the Heist, that shit was a robbery. Good Kid, Mad City should have won that. Like everyone said that. Like the uproar about that wasn't some bullshit either, right? So even if that's the reason, yeah, fuck it. Like he still would have deserved the Good Kid, Mad City ones instead of whatever he won as a participation thing.
Drake, who purchased these items.
It's like a different era. It's the end of that era for me.
Look at this astronaut.
This is the symbol for BBC.
And this whole thing, you know, all these beautiful items, this piece of jewelry still looks like brand new. This is museum pieces. This is museum jewelry. This should really be a museum.
I mean, the man...
Yeah, so, like, I wonder if he's going to get into it here, but, like, the way Drake has referenced this in diss tracks, I have a short about it. But Meltdown is literally about this. And then on Omerta, off of the Money in the Grave, like, Best in the World pack, he also says, like, I might buy your most personal belongings and put them up for auction, like, 2 years before this. So he was, like, planning this out with Pharrell. Whole reason he's mad at Pharrell is because when obviously like Pusha and Pharrell are like Pusha and Pharrell are associated, but the whole reason he's mad is because Pharrell didn't even diss Drake. He was just like, I hate to see what they're going through. Like I wish they weren't beefing.
The jewelry himself, Jacob the jeweler, is saying exactly what Drake is saying. This is literally Pharrell's legacy.
It's definitely petty and maybe even a bit childish, but
don't
if I had the money and it was my ops, I'd probably do the same thing. Like, fuck that guy, dude. This is mine now.
And I saw that a lot of people were quick to accuse Drake of lying about melting the chains.
I melt down the chains that I bought from your boss, give a fuck about all of that heritage shit.
When he says this, he's just messing with him, right? Like, making him think, like, do you really think he would do that? Melt down the chains? Drake's like, oh, that old junk? Yeah, I melted that down, man. That's just junk.
It's in these lines where Drake is really taunting Pusha T, as Pharrell was instrumental in his very existence to the music business. It's for this reason that I personally believe that the true reason for Drake purchasing these pieces was really to antagonize Pusha.
Man, I love you, bro, for everything, always. You brought me in this game.
Oh, yeah, the logo for BBC. I cut that, too. Now, like, the chains shit, I get that, like, that's the meaning of the line and everything. I just don't think it, like, to the public had as big of an impact. Maybe it had a personal impact on Pharrell that was pretty big, since that is his legacy. Pharrell did put them up for auction, right? So, like, anyone could have bought them. For him to buy them and for it to be this whole petty thing that he mentions on 3 different songs, like, I think as fans, I don't know if like anyone listening really cared.
You taught me everything.
It's in this clip where Pusha clearly states that Pharrell is the reason why he even has a career, and literally 4 months later, Drake purchased all the items from the auction.
Pharrell is even the person that gave Pusha T his name.
Man, you know what? Pharrell actually named me Pusha.
Pharrell did?
Yeah.
So to me, I think this has more to do with why Drake bought these chains in the first place.
Yeah, he bought them to mess with Pusha.
Not really to get at Pharrell, but more probably to get at Pusha.
As far as the visuals go, we now see a man wearing Pharrell's most iconic pieces, and a common misconception here was that the man was the owner of New Ho King, but he's actually a long-standing member of OVO. He goes by...
That's racist, y'all. Who said it was the manager on New Ho King? He got y'all. All of y'all are racist.
Pharrell's most iconic pieces, and a common misconception here was that the man was the owner of New Ho King, but he's actually a long-standing member of OVO.
That's funny.
He goes by the name of OVO Juju, and it's believed that he is Drake's road manager.
I'm not 100% sure what this guy does, but he's been around for a long time. He is part of OVO.
What's extremely interesting about this, and something that nobody's seen to notice, is that Juju is wearing a lot more jewelry than what was featured in the Jumbotron video. That's because it's here where Drake exposes that he bought even more items, but this time they don't belong to Pharrell. These items are actually Nigo's, who created the Ice Cream and Billionaire Boys companies with Pharrell. It was 1 year
like
after
Nigo.
Pharrell's auction that Nigo also had an auction for a bunch of his items, and it's in the Family Matters video where Drake reveals that he bought even more iconic pieces.
So how is it a diss
As you
at
can see, Drake
Pusha
purchased
or Pharrell
Nigo's
if he
Ice
bought
Cream logo
Nigo's
chain,
chains?
the Running Dog chain, and the Billionaire Boys Club astronaut head.
These are literally the characters that represent Pharrell and Nigo's companies, and it's in this video where he reveals, I bought this shit too.
Finally, one more thing worth mentioning is that you'll see that both Drake and Juju flex the chains by holding it up by their thumbs, which is exactly how Pharrell showcased these chains many times before.
So as obscure as some of these details might be, a lot of people do look past this shit.
I see
and
that
that's
as
what I
being
tend
a
to focus
diss.
on in my videos. Like these.
I see that. Yeah, it's good that he caught that. My bigger point is just like, I think to the public, like, for public perception, for people like seeing who won the beef, who didn't, like these shots that he's throwing at Pusha and Pharrell on this diss track that is again about Kendrick. I get him going after Rocky, after Ross, after Metro, because they were like he was responding to them directly, but like this kind of feels unnecessary.
Still do have meaning.
It's here where Drake accuses Kendrick of hitting
we
up
back at
Tupac
Kendrick now.
to
Let's
state
lock
to
in.
sue him for the
We have fucking 40 minutes of this video left.
Taylor-made freestyle, and I don't believe this for 1 second. Tupac's
in.
estate actually mentioned Kendrick as being a very respected friend, and a lot of people were upset with Drake when he did this Tupac gimmick.
You called it Tupac estate and begged him to sue me and get that shit down.
Now, Kendrick being a respected friend means maybe they would sue him if he asked, but I just don't buy it.
As far as the visuals, we do see a photo of Drake and his son Adonis,
I don't think
which
Kendrick
depicts a
called the
loving
estate.
relationship between the two, hence the title of the track, Family Matters.
And by all accounts, and I don't think we have any reason to really believe otherwise, Drake does seem to be a great dad to his kid.
Next
Yeah,
in the
Drake
video,
is
we
putting
see
money in his
Tupac's
mom's
ring,
pockets.
which Drake did purchase for $1 million, along with a mysterious letter that is written in Spanish. As you can see, the letter clearly has the infamous signature of Pablo Escobar.
Yeah, shit. It does have
And although
Escobar's
some of the
signature.
writing is blocked out, I was able to find this exact letter online.
Hype. See, this is why I love What's the Dirt, though. You know, like, shout out him for finding this letter.
When it was available for purchase. It appears that Drake was able to obtain a very rare artifact here, as this lot in particular was for a book that Escobar himself published while in prison. It's estimated that around 10 of these books are in existence, and just to show you guys that I found the correct item, you can see they're a mirror image of one another. A lot of fans speculated about the Spanish writing as some of it's blocked out, but it was translated on the auction
Very
website as
honest and
saying,
brave.
with much appreciation for a great friend, very
My Spanish
serious,
skills,
very
yo.
honest, and very brave, signed Pablo Escobar with his fingerprint. What's interesting about this book itself is it really showcases just how powerful Pablo was, as it's within these pages where he mocks law enforcement and political leaders.
So even when he was in jail, he was so powerful that they couldn't stop him from publishing a book that
Yeah, he ran. Yeah.
the police and, mock
I'm not
politicians.
gonna
He
get
did
into
whatever
it.
he wanted.
Most of the copies of this book were burned when Escobar escaped from prison, so it is pretty amazing that Drake got his hands on one of these. Now, when it comes to the symbolism of what this could mean in the Family Matters video, I can only guess at this, but Escobar lived by a specific set of family values. He went to great lengths to ensure that his family was protected and that they were able to live a life of luxury. However, at the same time, he was extremely powerful and ruthless when it came to how he handled his business and his enemies. Similar to Drake, many of Escobar's allies and friends would eventually turn against him.
So this really could be a powerful statement from Drake on a track titled Family Matters, given the theme of the record and then the fact that there are some parallels in their situations.
I'm losing perspective on me. Boy, when the same beat and I kill you for fun.
Drake suggests that the beef is becoming less significant to him and almost trivial. On the Push-Ups track, Drake sampled Biggie's iconic record, What's Beef, where Biggie defines beef as more than just a disagreement. It's a life-threatening conflict that extends beyond music into the real world. Drake seems to share Biggie's perspective, but in this situation, he doesn't view Kendrick as a street dude or see him Biggie threatening conflict.
Is there a reason this is
What's
connected
Beef,
to Biggie though? Just because of the losing perspective on beef?
Boy, when the same beat and I kill you for fun.
Drake suggests that the beef is becoming less significant to him and almost trivial. On the Push-Ups track, Drake sampled Biggie's iconic record, What's Beef, where Biggie defines beef as more than just a disagreement. It's a life-threatening conflict that extends beyond music into the real world. Drake seems to share Biggie's perspective, but in this situation, he doesn't view Kendrick as a street dude or see him as someone that's willing to take it there.
So this battle in Drake's eyes, there's no stress. There's no tension. Like, to him, this doesn't even seem like beef.
Next, we see one of the funniest shots in the video where Drake has two cakes decorated, one saying happy co-parenting and the other saying happy divorce. As I explained earlier, I have a hunch that Drake is bang on with the co-parenting angle. However, Kendrick and Whitney were never married, so this divorce cake could simply be symbolizing the relationship failed due to...
Yo, we got it. We got it. Type a W in the chat right here. Type a W in the chat. If you were here from the beginning, you know, we were waiting for this clip to come back up, and we got it. I could not be happier.
Married, so this divorce cake
could
simply be symbolizing the relationship failed.
This is big right here. This is the biggest revelation of. This should have been like the album cover for one of them.
Due to Kendrick's misdeeds.
Nah, it's funny though. It's a great fucking clip.
Drake makes a reference to Kendrick's track Duckworth, and if we're going to talk about storytelling in music, not just hip-hop, this has to be one of the best storytelling tracks.
Yeah, if I assume everyone in my chat will have listened to this song, but the way he puts the shit together.
Of all time.
Yeah. Your dad was working at KFC.
Yep.
Top Dog went in to rob KFC. Mm-hmm. Is this right? Because you've written songs about this.
Yeah.
Drake draws a powerful parallel in this line, implying that while Top Dog may not have literally robbed...
No, he's been great about this. Like, I really love like his breakdowns and this one still because of all the little shit that he caught. And like, that's why I make these, but that's also why like I watch these all the time, because it's just such a good feeling, like listening to the song again and being like, that little thing, like, you know, that little piece of information just like adds some thought behind it that you didn't know was there, you know.
Kendrick's father, he did exploit him, and Drake suggests that Top Dog has done the same thing to Kendrick, hence the phrase like father, like son.
And I don't want to hear anybody say that, oh, you don't understand Duckworth, bro, you just don't get it. Like, Kendrick's dad was getting exploited by Top Dog. He was afraid of him. It's no different than what the mob was doing back in the day. The mob was getting free bread and free meat, free whatever they wanted, because they were feared.
Kendrick says it on
the locals were afraid of them, and it's no different here. It's the same exact thing.
Drake also cleverly references the relationship between Birdman and Wayne, a father and son dynamic that ultimately soured, leading Wayne to sue Birdman over money he believed he was owed.
So it is a pretty hard line, especially coming off Push-Ups, where he accused TDE of extorting Kendrick for 50%.
Anthony set up the plays. Kojo be charging you double for none.
Drake claims that when Kendrick was signed to TDE, Anthony Top Dog was the one that was calling all the shots when it came to business. It's here where he insinuates that Kendrick is absolutely clueless when it comes to business, because it's likely that the creative direction and production of Mr. Morale were driven by Kendrick and his team at PG Lang, and under this direction, the album was the worst-selling project to date. TDE seemingly had limited involvement in this album since it was widely known that this was his last project with them. Drake drives this home even further by making a reference to an artist named Duval Kojo Timothy, who was credited as a producer on 4 of Kendrick's songs from Mr. Morale, and it's here where Drake is saying that without Top Dog, Kendrick is getting ripped off because he doesn't know what he's doing. Drake claims that he got charged double for production on an album that didn't even sell well.
Now, I don't know where Drake got this Kojo info or even if it's true, but I do still like the angle he took. He's basically saying that without TDE, Kendrick's lost. He doesn't know what he's doing, and then he backs that up with the fact that Mr. Morale didn't perform well.
However, this line could be a double entendre, as Anthony is not just the name of Top Dog, but Kendrick's manager as well, and rumors have sparked up that there's potential Kendrick was using bots.
And I gotta be honest, I did not look into any of these bot allegations or any of that, so leave it in the comments, fill me in.
Drake insinuates that the people close to Kendrick are shook because they know Drake has some damaging secrets, that the people close to Kendrick are shook because they know Drake has some damaging secrets, but at the same time, they're pretending to be confident in front of Kendrick.
So it didn't age very well, but again, this is how much stock Drake put into this information.
Next, visually, we see a studio, and I did look this up, and it's safe to say that this is indeed Drake's home studio. You'll also notice that a bra is hanging directly to the right of the camera, and it's hard to say who this belongs to, as Drake...
I think it's Whitney's.
...is known...
No, I think it's Kim Kardashian's.
...getting plenty of bras thrown at him while on tour, but you can best believe that this...
It's Whitney's.
...is there for a good reason. It's likely related to a girl connected to any one of these rappers that he's dissing.
Y'all know it's Whitney's.
I mean, without more context, it's pretty much impossible to find out who owns this thing. Though. But I guarantee it is there for a reason.
Nah, it would have been funnier if, like, he did one of his, like, deep dives on, like, trying to find out whose bra it was. I might have to do that for, like, a short or something. I'm playing about the Whitney shit, though. I just...
Say, well, fucking my nigga, it's already done.
Drake refers to Kendrick...
Nah, don't clip that. Y'all don't understand sarcasm, bro.
...Brett's on Euphoria when he told Drake not to take things further, and just like I said earlier, this was something that Kendrick clearly felt he needed to get in front of.
We already know it's a 20v1. We already know why you went #1. It's clearly because of the boy.
Drake is quick to remind everyone that he's up against a lot of people in this war, and he's quick to take credit for helping Kendrick go #1 with the Like That record.
Hold up.
Already know why you went
Kendrick clearly felt he needed to get in front of.
We already know it's a 20v1. We already know why you went #1. It's clearly because of the boy.
Drake is quick to remind everyone that he's up against a lot of people in this war, and he's quick to take credit for helping Kendrick go #1 with the Like That record.
Yeah.
And no matter how you want to spin this thing, Drake has a very valid point. Kendrick's last album didn't have a single #1 on the Billboard Hot 100. In fact, the last time he had a #1 was nearly 8 years ago with Humble. It wasn't until 2024 that he secured 2 #1 records with Like That and Not Like Us. So at the end of the day, out of the 4 #1s that Kendrick has, 2 of them are dissing Drake.
So whether you like it or not, it's a fact. Those records wouldn't have went #1 without the element of dissing Drake. They wouldn't have.
Right about for the big 3. It's only Big D in this video proof.
Drake responds to Kendrick's claims on the Like That record when he said this.
Motherfuck the big 3. Nigga, it's just big me. Nigga, bum.
So Drake is repositioning the placement again by claiming that it's only Big D, and this acts as a double entendre where 1, Big D is obviously short for Big Drake,
so he doesn't look into the
and
box
2,
or the
he says there's video
bra,
proof because a video leaked of Drake showing his...
I'm not explaining this one, you guys. If you know, you know.
And we can't forget video leaked of Drake showing his...
I'm not explaining this one, you guys. If you know, you know.
And we can't forget that this line is obviously another shot at J. Cole as well, as Drake again counts him out.
I mean, if you ask me, it seems like Drake does not mess with Cole anymore. He's been taking a bunch of shots at him.
It's at this point in the video where we see a shot of memorabilia that is likely kept in Drake's studio.
Point. Thank you, but at what
First,
cost
I want to point out the bobblehead on the far right, which is a limited edition Mac Dre figure from his album, The U.S. Open. Mac Dre is synonymous with the Bay Area, and Drake is a well album. The bobblehead on the far right, which is a limited edition Mac Dre figure from his album, The U.S. Open. Mac Dre is synonymous with edition Mac Dre figure from his album, The U.S. Open. Mac Dre is synonymous with the Bay Area, and Drake is a well-documented superfan.
Drake actually brought Mac Dre's mother on stage one time.
I don't know if y'all know who this is, but she goes by the name of Mac Wanda, and she birthed a man named Mac Dre.
Next on the far left is a Michael Jackson
Alright.
action figure
So,
from
like,
circa
he's
1995.
deep in LA culture.
I found the actual doll, and
I
it
get
is
that.
a fairly rare special edition that does have a button on it that, when pressed, plays the black and white song.
He's just really mocking Kendrick even more here.
The next figure took me an extremely long time to find. I couldn't really tell who the character was at all, but this is a retro toy of Jimi Hendrix from a company called Mego, and it depicts his infamous performance at the Monterey Pop Festival in 1967.
Damn.
However, I feel like Drake has this in the video for a very particular reason, as Hendrix was well known for surrounding himself with white groupies, and Kendrick is on record as saying he wanted to be remembered someday just like Jimi Hendrix.
So Hendrix was with the white groupies, and so was Kendrick. And I got a feeling that Drake knows more about this than what we know.
Lastly, we have the signed glove, which also took a long time to find because I kept trying to tie this glove to Michael Jackson, but I eventually did link this autograph to none other than Tiger Woods. Now, Tiger in particular is a well-documented milkman who, like Kendrick, has a past of infidelity.
Yeah.
Valid. Two light-skinned kids, the shit would
Nah,
be
actually, I
Drake
agree with
begins with a hypothetical scenario
That's definitely,
suggesting
like,
that
why
their
he put
two
those in the
sons
video.
go on a play date
That's
at the park together. He uses this opportunity to
Funko
emphasize that
Pops and
both
rappers.
children are light-skinned. Although Kendrick's child
got
isn't anywhere
Funko
near
Pops
to
of
as light as
baseball
Drake's, Drake leverages this to subtly accuse Kendrick of hypocrisy.
Or no, tennis.
So this is the
It was a
beginning of the
rapper
framework for what's
that
to
made a
come,
tennis
but
album.
basically he's just reminding the whole world that this is Kendrick's reality, right? He does have mixed children, and he does seem to prefer lighter complected women.
Unless you don't want to be seen with anyone that isn't blacker than you.
He follows this up with a funny remark, hinting that Kendrick might feel embarrassed to be seen with his son due to his complexion.
And this is really the beginning of him setting up the framework to claim that Kendrick really wants to be with white chicks, right? That's truly what he wants. But because he's Kendrick Lamar and he has this persona, he's not able to really do what he truly wants. He has to hide it. He's embarrassed to be seen.
Something also worth mentioning is that in this
so I
third
got that
verse,
as the
Drake
point he was
tends to
making right
match
there.
a lot of the visuals with the lyrics. In the case of this section, we see the outside of a studio booth, and you'll notice that when the sign flashes to signal that a live recording is taking place, it's perfectly timed with the words "scene."
Unless you don't want to be seen with anyone that isn't blacker than you.
As far as what this symbolizes, Drake could be simply saying that it's on Family Matters where Kendrick is getting exposed, or Drake could be saying that he has a recording on Kendrick. Now that he's getting exposed, or Drake could be saying that he has a
I
recording.
think this shit is the recording. This shit is the recording. No, but I think this is a stretch. This
on Family Matters where Kendrick is getting exposed.
Or I don't know.
Or Drake could be saying that
if he did have a recording, and like that's the next step, he about to put some shit from like when they went on tour on 100 gigs or something, then this would have been a clever ass crazy way to do it. But okay, he says huge assumption. Say less.
simply saying that it's on Family Matters where Kendrick is getting exposed.
I've seen everything I
Or
need to
Drake
see.
could be saying that he has
I've
a
seen-
recording on
I've
Kendrick.
seen everything I
Now,
need
this
to
is
see.
obviously a huge assumption, and
That
it seems
clip, bro.
unlikely to me because it would have made a lot more sense to put any damaging footage out by now.
Yeah, facts.
But we'll have to see where this whole thing goes.
But if that ages well, like, we gotta give him props right now. Like, this man, he makes a lot of points that age really well, and I've seen it, you know. Yeah, like, I don't think... I think the talking about it like it's a preference thing came from Kendrick saying, we hate the bitches you fuck, and then Drake taking that as like a race thing, like we hate that you get with like white women. So that's why he's like, I get with black and white and everything that's in between. But Kendrick might have just been saying he gets with young girls because they confuse themselves with real women. Like that's how I took it initially. But yeah, the random guy that Aubrey was talking to was a Hell's Angels member, right? That Toronto game.
The blacker the berry, the sweeter the juice.
Drake's entire
I gotta get my
sequence here
focus
is
back,
exceptionally
shit.
clever. He seizes another chance to mock Kendrick's Black Messiah persona by referencing the line from Kendrick's track, Blacker the Berry. The phrase, blacker the berry, sweeter the juice, is typically associated with black empowerment, symbolizing that darker skin is more beautiful and more connected to one's roots. Kendrick has used this phrase himself, but Drake seems fed up with what he perceives to be one massive grift, because as we all know, romantically, Kendrick doesn't seem to really believe this, as by all accounts, he's attracted to much light.
She's back. She's back, y'all. This is the video proof.
complexions.
We get it, you like to put gin in your juice. We get it, you think that you bishop and juice.
Drake then continues to drive home
You
the
know, I just
hypocrisy
realized something,
by
and I just want to call it right now. If he's right about there being some footage, and that's why he like put recording up, then there's only Big D and there's video proof is probably like also referencing that. Like if there was footage, then that line would have been referencing that. I kind of doubt that there's footage though. 23 minutes. I missed the stock white woman too. Can't lie. I was dozing off till she came back.
Mixes
23 minutes though. All right, let's lock in.
Drake then continues to drive home the hypocrisy by implying that Kendrick...
I don't remember the last time I watched a video this long on YouTube, but like respect to this guy. Puts it together well.
Mixes gin in his juice,
yeah, I don't
which
think
is a reference to
there's
Kendrick's
footage
history with
either.
lighter complected women.
I just wanted to like say that on camera so that if it happens, like I called it.
Well as a reference to Snoop's West Coast smash, Gin and Juice.
So Drake is pretty much saying in order for you to, enjoy that pure sweet juice that you're talking about, you're diluting it. You're mixing shit in with it. You're fucking up.
Facts. He would have released it by now. Right.
Concentrate your
smash, Gin and Juice.
So Drake is pretty much saying in order for you to, enjoy that pure sweet juice that you're talking about, you're diluting it. You're mixing shit in with it. You're fucking up the concentration of the juice.
Yeah.
Now, to be fair, the exact origin of the phrase blacker the berry, sweeter the juice is unclear, but it was popularized in the early 20th century, and the phrase gained a lot more traction with Wallace Thurman's 1929 novel, Blacker the Berry. We then heard the phrase be repositioned by Tupac as something that was related to the beauty of black women, but in the book and within the phrase's origin, the saying is far deeper than just that. That's why it's important to note that in Kendrick's version, he does not use the phrase in relation to women at all, as he repurposed it to explore the complexities of black identity and systemic racism.
And I did pick up the book. I'm halfway through it. I got it a few days ago. The book so far is a sad reality.
Damn.
The book so far is sad.
Drake suggests that Kendrick sees himself as Bishop, the character from the iconic film Juice.
The book is sad.
Played by Tupac. In the movie, Bishop is a ruthless, power-hungry figure who will do anything to get ahead. Kendrick, known for being a huge Tupac fan and drawing significant inspiration from his music, Drake implies that he's trying to emulate Tupac, striving to match that same aggressive and ambitious persona.
And there's been claims about Pac playing Bishop and that how he pretty much became that character after, and that character wasn't really him either.
When you put your hands on your girl, is it self-defense because she bigger than you?
So this is the first time that Drake has mentioned anything to do with domestic abuse between Kendrick and his fiancée Whitney.
Yeah,
and by
I think it's worth like thinking about like, Bishop and like We Cry Together and kind of the ties between those two things. Like the music video at least. And then like him leading up to this line with that.
You put your hands on your girl. Is it self-defense because she bigger than you?
So this is the first time that Drake has mentioned anything to do with domestic
I guess this is the line we've been waiting for.
Abuse between Kendrick and his fiancée Whitney. And by no means do I condone domestic violence, but this line is pretty funny because Kendrick's girl is indeed taller than him.
So it's here where he claims that Kendrick put hands on Whitney.
Good disclaimer.
But he still manages to get another short joke off.
Now regarding the visuals, it's here where things become quite cryptic and intriguing. The scene begins with someone driving a Cadillac and entering a gated property. This property belongs to Drake's neighbor, Andrew Kernew, whom we will discuss in
I guess that's all he said about it.
Quite cryptic and intriguing.
Just that he claims.
Another short joke off.
Now, regarding the visuals, it's here where things become quite cryptic and intriguing.
Yeah, this
the
part
scene
of the video
begins with someone driving a Cadillac and entering a gated property.
What'd y'all think about the way he covered that line though? I'm curious. It was quick.
To get another short joke off.
Now, regarding the visuals, it's here where things become quite cryptic and intriguing. The scene begins with someone driving a Cadillac and entering a gated property. This property belongs to Drake's neighbor, Andrew Kernew, whom we will discuss in more detail later. On the left-hand side, you'll see a pirate, which was placed there to honor a social justice pirate named Sam Bellamy. Sam was one of the most respected pirates of all time, and he coincidentally died on Andrew's birthday.
So these things that I'm explaining right now aren't really important for Drake, but I'm just explaining what's in the video.
Your back is up against the curve. You digging for dirt, should be digging for proof.
So again, it's here where Drake proves even more that the information that he was holding was something he felt was very significant for this battle. Drake labels Kendrick as someone who's in hot water and claims he's doing whatever he can to find dirt on Drake.
So Drake is asking for proof, and that's something that neither one of these guys have been good at giving.
Why did you move to New York? Is it because you live in that bachelor life?
So I talked about the New York line in my tailor-made breakdown, and like I said before, I'm of the opinion that Kendrick and Whitney are indeed separated. I think Drake got this part bang on, but again, this is just my opinion, but ultimately, it is the furthest thing from a far-fetched take to have.
Proposed in 2015, but don't want to make her your actual wife.
Drake seems to be insinuating that they've been together for a long time, but this isn't what Kendrick really wants, and he's never really...
coverage of the line was quick. I'm just like, I feel like the time spent on it was like very, very short compared to just like other important lines in the video.
That they've been together for a long time, but this isn't what Kendrick really wants, and he's never really truly been committed.
I'm guessing this wedding ain't happening right, because we know the girls that you actually like.
Kendrick did propose in 2015, and while it's not a big deal to never get married, for a devoted Christian and a man of God, this is typically a priority. However, Drake has already referenced the facts regarding the cheating with white women, and he insinuates that this is what Kendrick really wants. Now, as far as the visuals, we see someone that to me
we got a new white woman unlocked. I can't lie, I miss the old one, but
Kendrick really wants. Now, as far as the visuals, we see someone that to me looks like Drake, but I can't be sure.
The darkest secrets are coming in light. It's all on your face like what happened to Mike.
Drake embraces the old age saying, "What's done in the darkness will come to light," implying that no matter how sneaky or deceitful actions may be, they will eventually be exposed. Again, we get some clever wordplay here from Drake, as we have another Michael Jackson reference. MJ suffered from vitiligo, a condition that presents itself with white patches on the skin. It's here where Drake claims that all the things that Kendrick has done to grease Whitney over the years is written all over his face. And all the things that Kendrick has done to grease Whitney over the years is written...
She's back.
...over his face. And even...
He looks pretty
all
happy
the things that Kendrick has done to grease Whitney over the years is written all over his face. And even if this is in Mr. Morale, that doesn't change the fact that it's a good angle. He's framing it like Kendrick's a closeted milkman, like white chicks is really what he really wants,
yeah,
what he's really into.
I get that angle.
The scene then flashes to Jeremiah, Drake's right-hand man next to Chubb.
I just don't think that's like... I think the bigger diss is... the bigger diss is definitely him treating Whitney bad, like his whole life, and that timeline that he made and everything. Like we don't know who he's like cheating with at these shows, or who he's getting with like while he's still engaged to this woman. We don't know. We don't even know like the terms that him and Whitney were on. But
as many of you know, in Meet the Grams, Kendrick claimed that Drake had a secret daughter, and many speculated that the picture of the little girl on Andrew's property was Drake's way of trolling this planted information. Picture of the little girl on Andrew's property.
Damn. If so, I do believe that he like fed him the information about the daughter. I don't think he has a daughter. So if this was real,
was Drake's way of trolling this planted information, since Drake will later claim on the Heart Part 6 that he fed him these details. However, after some research, the girl pictured is actually Andrew's daughter, as I found the exact same photo on his Instagram account.
Oh shit, it's all making sense. Maybe I'm Prince and you actually Mike.
Out of all the Prince and Mike flips that we got in this battle, this
I was hoping there'd be more like meaning to like where he was and stuff.
One is by far the hardest. For context, Drake was always compared with Mike, whereas Kendrick was more likened to Prince. However, Drake takes the chance to flip this thing on its head, claiming that it's actually Kendrick who's like Mike.
Michael was praying his features would change so people believe that he's actually white.
MJ went to great lengths to
I think this was supposed to be the red button.
The patches caused by a skin condition. He was pretty self-conscious about this, and Drake claims that MJ prayed that his features would change so that he would look Caucasian. So just like Mike, who was ashamed of the white patches, Kendrick is ashamed of his preference for white women.
Top will make you do features for change. Get on pop breakers and rap for the whites.
So coming off the previous line, Drake draws parallels between Mike's situation and Kendrick's situation by claiming that TDE forced Kendrick to do features for white pop artists that he likely didn't want to do. Hence, just like Mike, he was also praying that his features would change. It's the best Prince MJ flip that we got, for sure. It's a very hard double. As far as the white features, we're talking Dido, Maroon 5, U2, Taylor Swift, Imagine Dragons, Robin Thicke, and no, this is not Drake's catalog, this is Kendrick's. I know people like to label Drake as a pop artist, and there's an argument to be made for that, but no matter how you want to spin it, Drake does not do music with full-on pop artists like Maroon 5.
I mean, Kendrick was doing records with full-on white pop artists, and Drake doesn't do that. That's a fact.
I love that song. Which one? Shake It Off? Shake It Off.
This is pretty funny. We got a new white woman unlocked. This time she's famous. But Kendrick is not only a milkman, he's also a Swiftie. So, confirmed. Alright, let's see. No, but this is one of his number ones. So I get the U2 and Maroon 5, like, you know, he was being forced into doing this. But like the Taylor one is just like a good like business. It's pretty funny. No,
and Drake continues with the MJ flip as he had a brother named Jermaine, and by all accounts, MJ allegedly did whatever he could to blackball his brother from reaching stardom.
Yeah, I knew this.
Then
too.
we got the fact that Jermaine Jackson had a documentary made about himself called Into the Light. However, the line is actually a really hard triple, as Drake is also referring to J. Cole, whose real name is Jermaine. Now, what Drake means by it, as Drake called Into the Light. However, the line is actually a really hard triple, as Drake is also referring to J. Cole, whose real name is Jermaine. Now, what Drake means by this is entirely speculation, but I do have a theory, as this beef was a massive moment for hip-hop, one of the biggest we've seen in decades, and although J. Cole did jump into the ring for a moment, he bowed out before things even kicked off. So it's here where Drake really plays off his decade-long narrative that Kendrick is someone that is desperate for attention, and in this case, Drake is accusing him of manipulating J. Cole from being involved so that he can have all this spotlight to himself.
I think this is more about throughout their careers. I think it's like there's always going to be like one Drake and then one like conscious rapper that's at the top, and like for Kendrick to be that like top conscious rapper, like J. Cole had to stay out of the light. As for the specifics of like how he maneuvered this to happen, I guess we don't have any like specific proof, but I don't think it's about like J. Cole and this beef. I think by the time we got here, this was already like going. And yeah,
I don't know how you couldn't admit that that whole sequence was crazy, because that whole MJ thing is that's all phenomenal, man. It is.
I get off the plane and nothing has changed. I handed the lot over all of my ice.
Drake takes a chance to respond to Kendrick's claims of how he was going to be snatching chains.
Welcome back, dog. I'm snatching chains and burning tattoos. It's up.
Drake really devalues Kendrick's pull in his own city, as he claims that when he touches down in LA, nothing will have changed. Drake references an upscale restaurant called Delilah, which he's frequent so often that they even have a drink named after him called the Champagne Poppy. Drake makes the claim that he's going to this establishment with all his jewelry, which is similar to what he said on Push-Ups.
So Drake's claiming he's going to his favorite spot, he's going to be kicked back, he's going to have all of his jewelry on, and Kendrick has no pull. There's nothing will have changed.
I'm curious to see like how seriously, you know, people in LA take it. You know, next time he has a tour stop there, anything like that. Like, will this kind of like effect last for as long as it needs to?
Now for anyone out here that's calling it right.
That's what I'm doing, is calling it right. That's all I've done this whole entire beef. Check the channel, check the catalog. I've been showing both sides, both perspectives, and being fair. When it comes to Family Matters, you can't sit there and say that there's not plenty of bars on this track that don't deserve props, because there is. Like, for anyone that's just gonna shit all over this record and call it garbage and trash and surface level, like, if you're one of those people, you're either A, an extreme deranged fan of Kendrick, meaning you literally worship a celebrity, or your hatred for Drake is that extreme that you can't even give him a compliment.
Drake says you're dead 3 times, which could very well be related to the 3 gunshots that we heard earlier. However, I feel what he's really trying to get across is that this track, along with the visuals, was intended to be a funeral for Kendrick. There's also the fact that he does have 3 beat switches on this record in particular, and to date, Family Matters was the 3rd diss track from Drake.
And now we can get into these really weird and cryptic visuals.
Next, we see Drake having a conversation with the owner of the property, Andrew Kernew. Now, before I get into any of the visuals here, I need to explain more about Andy and who he actually is. First off, there's been a lot of speculation about Andrew online, and I've done extensive research on him. No, he is not a full-on patched Hells Angels member, but he's as close as you can get, meaning he may as well be. Andrew is heavily connected to the club as he has friends and family that are full-on Patch members, and by all accounts, he became involved with the HA organization from a very young age. I was able to find out that his nickname on the streets was Big Head, and I even found his name in a well-known Hells Angels book. It's in these pages where Andrew comes up as one of the main targets for police, whose mission was obviously to take down the HA.
Now, Andrew would eventually get arrested, and some of these crimes are things that, even to this day, he claims he's innocent.
Andy would go on to find himself in and out of prison for a total of 9 years, but most noteworthy was in 2002 when he spent time in Toronto's Don Jail, which is considered to be the most violent jail in Canadian history.
With that said, the visuals in Family Matters should make a lot more sense now.
As you can see from the visuals here, Andrew and Drake are having a conversation in front of a strange concrete structure. However, this is not just any structure, as this is the actual prison cell that Andrew was held in when he did time.
Andrew literally found a way to buy the physical cell that he was in, and that's what's on his property.
Fans also took notice of the mysterious piece of paper pinned to the outside of the jail cell.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Assumed that this was more information that Drake had on Kendrick, but these claims couldn't be further from the truth. I was able to find that the piece of paper on the outside of the jail cell is an article of when Andrew was attacked at the jail during a 2002 riot.
I think it's a pretty hard flex to buy the actual jail cell that you were in.
And then put a news article of the crime you committed on the outside of the cell.
Being as successful as he is now, knowing that this was the cell that you lost your eye in when you got attacked. He got stabbed in the eye, right?
Now, I'd be doing this dude pretty dirty if I just labeled him as some ex-con biker guy, because he went on to become extremely educated. He owns a chain of dental clinics. He's got the biggest property on Bridle Path. He's Justin Bieber's godfather. He's got a crazy rags to riches story.
His story resonated with me because I found out his family is from the same place as mine, which we didn't grow up with no silver spoon. Like, it made sense.
He kind of looks like he could be related
right?
to you.
With all that said, what is the significance
up with no silver spoon? Like, it made sense.
Video.
Well,
I think the purpose is to further cement Drake's connection to the Hells Angels. It seems as though Drake has deep ties with the organization, as they do respect him and likely see him as a brother. I mean, here are 2 posts from Drake of motorcycles signed by Sonny Barger, a guy who often gets mistaken for creating the Hells Angels because he's that well known. It's also interesting to note that Sonny founded the Oakland, California chapter.
Drake's been spotted with HA members many times. He's wearing the support gear. He's mentioned it in music. And that's because Drake is clicked up with them.
A track titled Family Matters is powerful because this is how the club operates. When you befriend the club in the way that Drake has, you're now considered family. The HA organization lives by a specific set of codes and values that differ from everyday civilians. Drake is 100% good with the Hells Angels, the West Toronto chapter to be specific. Andy is someone that grew up with black gangs in government housing. He was a J Unit Supermax inmate for dangerous offenders. Many of the inmates during that time were murdered, but Andy is still alive and thriving.
They hired a crisis management team to clean up the fact that you beat on your queen. The picture you painted ain't what it seemed. Get in.
Drake seems to be referencing an incident that allegedly occurred at the Hard Rock Cafe in 2014.
Okay, so I guess now he's going to talk about it, which is like interesting that he's going to talk about it now and not in the is it self-defense because she's bigger than you line. But let's hear
it. Where it was rumored that Kendrick was involved in an altercation with a woman. Although Kendrick denied these allegations, it's rumored that Kendrick was involved.
Damn. I did not see these headlines.
In an altercation with a woman. Although Kendrick denied these allegations and the story eventually faded from public attention, Drake appears to highlight on this track that the woman involved was not just anyone, but that it was his queen, Whitney. Now, there's a video of a security guard who claims that Kendrick was indeed responsible for this incident.
Because, like, half of her face was, like, blown out, pretty much. She was with a certain rapper who had assaulted her. His first name was Kendrick. Kendrick Lamar? Yeah. There was cops there, and
she was like, I just gotta laugh at the fact that she was like dancing around it, and then she went.
Didn't find out.
She went. His first name is Kendrick, like they wouldn't know who it was.
Kendrick Lamar? Yeah. There was cops there, and we didn't find out it was Kendrick until later.
And it's at this point where the Who Kid drop from Drake from Push-Ups starts to get a little more interesting. When we explore this further, the Who Kid drop wasn't just a reference to the Dave Free and Whitney allegations, but it pointed us right into the direction of when Kendrick performed in Las Vegas.
Damn. Damn, that's crazy right there. That's crazy right there. So he definitely was with the Who kid referencing the like domestic violence allegations too. Whether or not they were true, this is a crazy way to reference it, you know?
3rd, 2014, with DJ Who Kid playing the very next day. Then we can't forget that Drake dropped his Family Matters record on May 3rd, so this was all extremely calculated.
I can guarantee Kendrick did not want these allegations coming to light again. He picked up on that drop in push-ups right away, knew what it meant, and he acted accordingly.
Fabrication.
I be with bodyguards like Whitney.
On the family front, because you heard Mr. Morale.
It's called a safety net, right? That's what that is.
If you take it there, I'm taking it further.
Now, what we do know is that Kendrick did indeed make it to this performance. As you can see, this is when he first arrived at the event, and this is him with his friend. As you can see, this is when he
this fit is bummy as hell, I can't lie.
Arrived at the event, and this is him with his friends at the rehab pool. He was slated to perform early that Saturday at 10 a.m. I also found a photo where he's in his hotel suite after the performance, and this photo was likely taken midday. I tried my best to pinpoint what exact suite this was, meaning what hotel.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like there's any solid proof, but like it is like cool to acknowledge. I guess not cool, but like it's an interesting thing that Drake did that we didn't realize the Who kid was about this too.
This at, but I couldn't figure it out.
I think it would also be helpful to find out what hotel he was at, right? So if you guys could find it, go right ahead.
Next, we also know that Kendrick didn't just hang back to chill at the suite that night, as we have photos of him at the pre-party for the Mayweather fight. As you can see, the date by Alamy is clearly listed as Las Vegas, May 3rd, 2014. Interestingly enough, the bodyguard also stated that this incident took place during Memorial Day weekend or at a fight.
It was Memorial Day or it was fight weekend, I don't remember.
However, another layer comes into play here, as we also have a photo of Kendrick with Whitney at this exact pre-party. As you can see, Alamy clearly tags this photo as being at a pre-party for a Mayweather fight on May 3rd. We also know that Kendrick made it to the fight that night, as I found a photo of him at the event.
And that's when the fight took place,
May
3rd.
He really broke, so like respect, because he broke down the whole day that this is supposed to happen. Oh, the dates given by the girl don't match the performance. In the video, they don't match?
The main fight took place that night at 11:30.
Okay, so maybe it didn't have to do with this performance.
p.m. Eastern Standard.
Damn, this is... I'm gonna just let him cook. I'm gonna let him cook, and then, you know, I see the chat right now. Like, I also don't think like anything's been proven yet, but I wanna see where he gets with this.
And it went the full 12 rounds, wrapping up at around 1 a.m. With all that said, we now have a fairly decent timeline of what Kendrick's day looked like up until early in the morning of May 4th. Based on what the bodyguard is saying, and based on the info I just...
Okay, so if this video... Did he perform at the same event? Yo... Where was I May 4th, 2013, bro? I should have been there.
I just shared, it seems like Kendrick would have went back to his hotel that night between 2 a.m. and 3 a.m., and this is likely when the incident would have took place.
So when we look at the timeline I presented, we got to at least admit that the bodyguard's info aligns with it, right?
Okay. I guess the bodyguard's info?
Also important to note, even if this...
Wait, what'd she say?
With it, right?
It was Memorial Day or it was fight weekend, I don't remember.
Oh, she said it's Memorial Day or it's fight weekend? So is that the right day?
Also important to note, even if this incident did take place on Memorial Day weekend, it still wouldn't look much better for Kendrick because he also performed in Vegas during that time as well.
It was Memorial Day or it was fight weekend, I don't remember.
I mean, if you don't like the info, just call me a culture vulture. That'll make you feel better.
Secondly, there is information from a news outlet called Media Takeout, which reported on the incident when it occurred. According to Media Takeout, both TDE and a crisis management firm contacted them demanding that the article be taken down, claiming that the story was entirely false.
And as it stands right now today, this is all we got. Everything I just showed you guys is false. And as it stands...
I take Media Takeout for a grain of salt. It is like kind of, what's it called, tabloidy. So this part of it, makes it look really bad. Like, they actually hired a crisis management team. I don't know. I mean, if they hid this... Okay, the Ville. Should I watch this after this? Because this is like all I care about now. the Ville video on the Hard Rock Hotel incident? I'll watch that right
demanding
after
that
this.
the article be taken down,
Might as well stay on
claiming
stream.
that the story was
I'm fucking
entirely
with this.
false.
So the incident was supposedly between a woman not Whitney, and the security team. Okay. So like I guess the only thing that like makes this like a big deal is like what she said about it, which is like a rapper. She's the bodyguard, I'm guessing. Is she the bodyguard?
Earlier it was fight weekend. I don't remember.
It still wouldn't look much better for Kendrick because he also
confused, yo.
performed in Vegas during that time.
Hold up.
It still wouldn't look much better for Kendrick because he also performed in Vegas during that time as well.
It was Memorial Day or it was fight weekend. I don't remember.
I mean, if you don't like the info, just call me a culture vulture. That'll make you feel better.
So he's
Secondly,
saying
there
it's
is
either
information
weekend-
from a news outlet called Media Takeout, which reported on the incident when it occurred. According to Media Takeout, both TDE and a crisis management firm contacted them demanding that the article be taken
There's also no proof that it's Whitney in any of this.
down, claiming
But
that the story
obviously,
was
like-
entirely false. And as it stands right now today, this is all we got. Everything I just showed you guys is what we got. So I'm going to leave this on you guys. Keep in mind, these are harsh allegations, right? So keep that in mind. We've got circumstantial clues, but we don't have, there's literally no concrete evidence
Okay.
that he did this. So with that
He-
said,
he's admitting
do you
there's no
think the story is
concrete
true
evidence.
and TDE hid
I think
this?
the way he painted that makes it look like there's a little bit more evidence than there is. But I will watch the Ville video because I do just want to know more.
Or do you think this is just all fabricated bullshit? For me, I'll be honest, I could never put this on Kendrick's jacket without documentation, picture,
Yeah.
something, right? It's just, these
No,
are
sir.
harsh allegations. So in closing, finally wrapping this thing up, I think Family Matters is totally slept on because it is indeed a solid diss record. I think the hate that this record is getting right now will not last forever. I believe that this record has
Yeah,
some
I don't think
elements
it's
of
getting
truth to
too
it.
much hate though. Or I don't know like what y'all think about this diss, but I think it's crazy. Like I think he went after like 5 rappers, like cooked 3 of them against Kendrick. The 3 claims he made, or like the 3 big things, are like he treated Whitney bad his whole life and like cheated on her multiple times. We knew that one. I guess is a valid take. The Dave Free thing, we know that's cap now, and you know, What's the Dirt just said it was cap. And then this at the end here, either true or false. If it's true, changes the disc completely. If it's still cap, like the reaction that this disc got is exactly what it should have gotten. So that's where we're at right now, without like any of the proof.
And
I will say that's like, I'll finish my thought
confident
when
that
we're
this
done
will
watching.
age better in time. My track record in predicting this entire beef has been pretty accurate.
He has been pretty
and it's
good
been you, the audience,
at,
who have complimented me
predicting shit.
on my success in doing that. I can guarantee you, all the people that made content for the last 5 months shitting all over this record,
Yeah,
none
if
of
you
that
continue
content's
the
going to age
angle
well.
on the
In
Hard Part
5,
6,
10, 15 years from now, people are going to look at this record differently, and at least they'll have a good breakdown to go to.
That was a very well thought out video, and he did his thing.
I thought this was masterful.
I can tell. What's the
Shout out, nah, for real. Shout out What's the Dirt, not just to like echo everyone at the end here. I guess he puts a compilation of. Damn, he got
on YouTube.
he got
I watched
fucking
his, like, a
Kyle.
bunch of his videos. He's dope. He's dope.
Being on YouTube and like watching like what.
That's fine. Damn, it's a long ass compilation. But nah, shout him out for real. He took his time. He did his thing. I thought this was a good breakdown. I'll just say, kind of like where I stand on the more contentious points of this, which is like this whole part where he's covering the Whitney, like Whitney, Kendrick is a milkman. Like, I think there was a little bit of bad faith in here. And I'm saying these as my only criticisms. The way he brought Buried Alive back into it without, like, the context of the song Buried Alive, like, being about a hypothetical version of himself in the industry, and, like, made it sound like, when he was still on the come up, he was rapping about wanting to like fuck white girls. Like, I felt like that was like a little bad faith. The Dave Free like kid thing is also just cap. And then this last piece right here, I guess, is like, when it comes to the accusations at Kendrick, nah, he was calling him a milkman multiple times in this video. Like, I think, yeah, like, there were some things he kind of like let slide or like didn't go as deeply into, and there were some like judgments on character that I think either like have been addressed or they aren't like as relevant to the beef as they are just like making Kendrick look bad. Which is, I get why it's relevant, because we have this like the good guy versus bad guy like look on this whole beef, which no one should be having in the first place. You know, two very imperfect people, they releasing music about each other. But yeah, interesting stuff. Appreciate you, Dolphinately. This is my first time doing a stream in a while. If you guys fucked with the stream, let me know. Like I would do this more often, and let me know like what you'd want me to do on stream, like what to react to, all of that. I enjoyed doing this though. I thought that was my fault. Shit. I thought that was an interesting watch. Should I watch something else? Should I watch the Ville video on the hotel incident? I'm gonna look it up real quick. But I had a good time watching this, for real. I actually like being on stream too. I feel like, okay, I'll check out the Ville. What is the video called? Or like, what should I? Debunking Kendrick's allegations? Is that it?
So What's the Dirt had went to Instagram, and he had shared these two images and called them iconic items. His words,
we got this,
not mine. But he had shared the Meet the Graham shirt that was used as the cover photo for Meet the
I'm
Graham.
gonna watch this and then I'm gonna sign off.
And he shared this poster of Kendrick Lamar performing at the Hard Rock Hotel in 2014. The second that I saw this photo, bro, I knew exactly what it was referring to. The second.
So Drake. Oh wait, no, Drake didn't post this. What's the Dirt did?
It's not mine, but he had shared the Meet the Graham shirt that was used as the cover photo for Meet the Grahams, and he shared this poster of Kendrick.
So shout out to this guy. I'm gonna subscribe right now. But shout out to the Ville, cause he did like a breakdown on the like clues leading up to the What's the Dirt analysis. There's so many like levels to this, bro.
Performing at the Hard Rock Hotel in 2014. The second that I saw this photo, bro, I knew exactly what it was referring to.
That's crazy.
I don't know if he was going to refer this on the Family Matters video or not. I don't know.
He definitely did.
But the fact that he's sharing these two items, I already knew what the play was. And I'm going to tell you this. I'm going to tell you this story, man.
I hope
That's
people are
in regards to
saying
this
like
photo
he
right
called
here.
it.
If you don't know, I'm going to tell you. If you know, you already know what's in store. I'm going to use this forum because he used all the links and shit. Shout out to bro who had made this original post. So we're going to break down.
Comments saying it was Diddy. Someone said he was performing at that same show.
This image right here. So this is Kendrick Lamar performing at the Hard Rock Hotel for a rehab event. In May 3rd, 2014. Okay, so now let's begin. So Kendrick did perform at the Hard Rock Hotel for a rehab event. This part was never a lie. However, a lot of reports are missing some very seemingly small details that flips the allegations of domestic violence on its head. Now, peep this poster. It was confirmed that Kendrick performed May 3rd, 2014. However, a small detail everyone overlooks is the comments made by the security guard, which is seen in both articles and videos posted in 2014 and a recently video found that was uploaded on YouTube. Now, that video in question, if you've seen it, this was at the peak of the beef. This was everything that was being shared at the peak of the beef about Kendrick being accused.
Yo, I remember this. When Drake made that fake like PG Lang website and he posted a bunch of shit on it, was this on there?
Assaulting a woman, beating her up.
This was on there. I missed some shit, yo.
At the Hard Rock Hotel. Now, I'm going to play this right now, bro. And I'm going to dissect it for you and tell you why it's cat, bro. Watch.
She did a pressing charges, I think. Last thing I heard, I had to do a huge report, and then hopefully I didn't have to go to but I didn't. No, I didn't. I met all of his friends because they were all trying to get into that room, and we had to detain anyone trying to get in.
I will say this channel did not have the impact Drake thought it would. We got a good 371 subscribers on that.
Because the cops made us lock out.
No, wait a second. I got a little behind. Are you telling me that this particular rapper had like a large group of people
7 rooms
with him, like an entourage?
Yeah. I mean, it's so in trouble for telling this story.
It's Hard Rock. We had to.
So if you're catching up, bro, she's a security guard at the Hard Rock Hotel where Kendrick performed at. She's saying she is a security guard at the Hard Rock Hotel and had to respond at an incident on a certain date. Keep the date right here.
So Memorial Day weekend, but
This guy, sorry, I keep pausing, but this guy, like, he's invested in this shit. He's.
They're both. There was a big UFC fight. There's always a big UFC fight.
Well, no, it was Memorial Day weekend, and then it was fight weekend and then Memorial Day weekend. And I don't remember. I think it was Memorial Day.
I know. I was there.
So she's saying she doesn't know if it was the day of Memorial Day weekend or if it was on one of the days in Memorial Day weekend. And then the gentleman, the interviewer, he's saying, "Oh, there was a fight for UFC on Memorial Day. There always is." And he's referring to UFC 173. UFC 173 was on Memorial Day weekend on May 24th, 2014. Memorial Day weekend, it was on 2014, was on May the 26th. So this is where things start becoming very, very clear that this woman was getting her days and people mixed the fuck up. She was, bruh. She's saying that there was an incident that happened on Memorial Day weekend. Kendrick Lamar performed at the Hard Rock Hotel Casino on May 3rd, 2014 in Las Vegas, Nevada. He did not perform on Memorial Day weekend.
Hold up.
But let's continue with the video.
Wait, should we keep watching this, or real quick, I want to watch the rest. I just want to check. Fucking.
All right, guys. So
what were the dates?
Now what we do know is that
because he showed a UFC card and it didn't look like the same card. Mayweather versus. Okay, so DeVille seems like he did a great job catching this early, but it looks like there was another fight on the 3rd. And then he also later says that he was also there fight weekend. He was there in Vegas Memorial Day weekend too. So as far as the dates, it seems like he did not get that wrong.
So what's the dirt?
Or he did not get that right.
Dissect.
There was a UFC fight the weekend of the 3rd, and he was back there Memorial Day weekend. So the date thing isn't what's wrong.
For UFC on Memorial was on 20 things are
y'all following? The date thing was not
performed. Not whatever. You saw how he looked at the other girl?
Fight on Memorial Day weekend.
And then fight weekend and Memorial Day weekend. I don't remember. I think it was Memorial Day.
I know. I was there for a fight on Memorial Day weekend.
Whatever. Anyways, so I get.
Not whatever. You saw how he looked at the other girl? Look, when she said whatever, look.
Weekend.
Whatever. Anyways, so.
Look, all she knows is that it happened on Memorial Day weekend. She don't even know exactly what day.
That's kind of.
But if she's talking Memorial Day weekend, thinks there was a fight, this is not the 3rd. This is the 24th, 25th, 26th that she's talking about.
Yeah.
I get dispatched.
So for her to say whatever,
if you're about to say all that,
it's already giving me a tell where she don't even remember partially her own story.
Up to one of the rooms, dispatched us. Yeah, she was told to.
Yeah. The call came over the radio.
I told to go up to her room, help some girl get done. She was scared. She ended up being all bloody and everything. Oh yeah, it was lovely. So.
It was lovely is crazy when you're talking about a woman being bloody and beat up, and then you say it's love. This woman is, I don't know, bro. This lady is something else, bro.
Like, oh, crap. And so I had to call like my supervisor, then I had to call my other supervisor, then I had to call my boss, and I was like, we got a situation because like half of her face was like blown out pretty much. So I'm like, oh, lovely. And come to find out, she was with a certain rapper who had assaulted her.
Was his first name Lil?
No.
Don't narrow it down.
His first name was Kendrick. Lamar? Yeah. What do you do?
She's mad funny for this, bro. Like she said Kendrick like there are like 50 other Kendrick rappers.
You beat up some chick.
Look at that. Look at how she scratches her head like that, bro. That's if y'all don't know body language, bro.
He called her out.
People
and I was
get
just scratching my head.
People start scratching themselves when they're telling a story that they're not even 100% sure of.
Fuck. I just scratched my head. Am I capping about something, yo?
Or they could possibly be lying, bro.
Okay.
You got
the date thing. Honestly, I'm more sold on just like her mannerisms than the date thing. The date thing, what's the dirt got it right?
Body language, bro. Her saying it was Kendrick and then and doing one of these, like scratching, like yeah, like bro, that you could tell, bro. She wasn't even sure when she said the name.
Get me to the phone call. It's supposed to be hidden, but no one knows I'm on here.
And then on another level, like if what y'all are saying the story ended up being is true, it was like one of his security versus Whitney. Not versus Whitney. Why the fuck did I say that? It was not a fight. My fault, y'all. I'm tired. Y'all know what I mean though. if it was security and like some random woman and not even Whitney, but like they were with Kendrick's camp, would she know who it was as security?
No one knows. I'm like, bro, this is a clout chasing.
Or, I mean, if it was one of his bodyguards and some random woman, but like with Kendrick, like would she know the difference going in?
Clout chasing, date wrong.
Yo, I feel bad about saying that shit. I said the bodyguard versus Whitney, bro.
Minded bitch, bro. Straight up.
Oh, can't tell by now. She called the police. She went to the police. There was cops in the car. There was cops there, and we didn't find out it was Kendrick until later. He made it rain. It went away.
Okay, so she didn't find out it was Kendrick until later. So if like the official news story is it was like one of his bodyguards, like maybe I'm just like benefit of the doubt here. Like maybe so she didn't physically see the incident. She heard it was Kendrick later. It could have still just been one of his bodyguards, and the woman, and like what she was told is it was Kendrick's camp, right? It doesn't confirm that it was him. But,
yeah, so you don't get sued because she already knew that she was out of pocket when she mentioned the wrong dates. Look,
I know. I was there 4 or 5 on Memorial Day weekend.
Memorial Day weekend.
What's the dirt? Also didn't play the rest of this video.
May 24th, UFC
say,
173.
That point about her finding out later is like
May 24th, around Memorial Day weekend. That's the fight that's in question. These are the dates that are in question.
Okay,
right
now
here,
the dates.
May 3rd, 2014 was not during Memorial Day weekend. Memorial Day was
there was another fight though.
26, 2014. If anyone else took notice, as well saw, bro, speaking at the Hard Rock.
So this, just so for everyone who just joined, this shit is cap. Like this debunking of it is cap. Cause there was a fight that weekend too, and then What's the Dirt also showed that he was there the other weekend.
So how is Kendrick gonna perform on Memorial Day weekend at the Hard Rock Hotel when he already performed on May 3rd?
He did though. Damn.
She got the people mixed up.
But like, shout out to DeVille for like getting on this the day before What's the Dirt talked about it. But he did perform both weekends.
She got confused with Kendrick Lamar and somebody else that was at the Hard Rock Hotel. You know who else was at the Hard Rock Hotel, bro?
Diddy.
Now, one thing, I read it.
It was Diddy. It was Diddy. That's crazy.
The rehab event at the Hard Rock Hotel.
It was Diddy.
If you take a look at who performed during Memorial Day weekend, you can see Mr. P. Diddy Combs. And we'll take a look at that right now. Shit, bro. Look at this shit. What's that date at the top right corner, bro?
Yo.
What's that date?
Yo.
May 25th, 2014.
This is a lot more
I hate to be that guy,
for me.
But who was, or what was, P. Diddy accused of? Right now, who's in hot water for assault? Who was seen in the video beating up Cassie at another hotel, bruh? May 25th, 2014?
I feel like
around UFC weekend, May 24th, 2014? And then they're going to go and say in this video, bruh?
Well, it's 5 weekend in the Memorial Day weekend. I don't remember. I think it was Memorial Day.
I know I was there 4 or 5 on Memorial Day weekend.
And it was funny how this man ended it. He said right here, if you take a look who performed during Memorial Day weekend, we can see Mr. P. Diddy for May 25th. And we famously know that P. Diddy, Kendrick, and J. Cole were not the best of friends at this time. My theory is Kendrick's team did clear the articles off because he was wrongfully accused. Somehow, 2 black men got mixed up. 2 black men, not the dates. The 2 black men got mixed up. She
famous
got the date
for paying
correct,
his way out of
but
situations.
she got the person messed up. She mixed up the person, P. Diddy, with Kendrick Lamar. Allegedly. But we already know what P. Diddy's been accused of.
Wait, hold up. This is what we need right here. There's an interview of him discussing it and saying he was falsely accused. That's all I need to, like, we need to watch. Can we find this somewhere, bro? Can anyone link me this interview? Just like real quick before I end stream. Like, did he talk about this? I don't feel like I'm gonna find this. I feel like it would have been in the What's the Dirt video if I found it. But it is what it is. It's the Breakfast Club interview. It's only 25 minutes. We can find it.
Real people, real celebrities, real talk. Join the Breakfast Club. Last off in your ear. Morning 6 to 10.
Morning, everybody. It's DJ MV.
It's in here, though, for sure.
We are the Breakfast Club. Special guest with us this morning, Mr. Kendrick Lamar.
K-Dot.
What's happening? What's up, sir?
So you're doing interviews, you're doing SNL in a couple of weeks. That means you must have a release date for the album.
I don't.
I'm not even trying to watch this whole interview, but like I'm trying to see if he talks about it.
Because?
Top Dog.
Oh.
Making Top Dog and still creating.
Okay. What's that check like?
It's working
No, you don't have to
let him grow. You gonna let him grow?
I'm already
I'm just
on
letting
it. Thank you.
whatever happens till I finish this album.
Okay.
How far you from? I don't release the in the creative space. I'm so much. When creating an album, I'm big on that. You know.
the hell corduroy? What the hell corduroy?
Remember you said when you first met him, he had on corduroy pants?
Corduroy jeans. I had no corduroy.
I said that.
Different things. Just me being creative as possible.
How did you feel about the reaction to I? Because we love.
I've never heard
I like
this.
to stay stagnant. And,
I think I've watched this before, but I never heard him talk about
say
it.
something and not, utilize my to my shows. You know what I'm saying? So they want to commit suicide as well. So you have to have that self-pride. The record comes about, and that's how I feel.
First thing I said was, damn, this sounds outcast.
I want to sway away from it, as possible, and have an organic feel. So when I do
I'm
a record
just
like that,
really invested in trying to find out what he said about this incident. Because, all right, we know What's the Dirt was right about the dates. We also know Diddy was there. So, like, that complicates things.
I'm in a space now.
Because this really makes or breaks it, right? Like, it makes or breaks the diss track. Because if it was just lies, like, we already know he lied about the Dave Free thing. Or he, like, didn't know it. Like, know it was a lie before he reported on it. So if both incidents are kind of, like, bad faith for him to try to find dirt, then that kills the track. If there's like some weight behind this one, that obviously like changes the story.
Something that moves me. You know what I'm saying? And going around and experiencing different people and meeting different people and having my own issues in life in general.
He doesn't go into detail.
I know how to conduct yourself in a setting where it's circumstance. So that's a whole other world, it's a whole other ballgame, along with other things that's going on around you. So subject matter is
the crisis management
That's
team.
what cool things about knowing how to act around white people. Not to cut your foot off.
Did that surprise you? Because over the summer we went to a lot of your shows. We were on a lot of shows with you, and there was so many different types of people in there. You know what I mean? It was white people, Asian people, and they knew them.
It was white people. Drake has a point.
We were on a lot of shows with you. But that
the ghetto. I've been in Compton my whole life. I just started traveling to be 100 with you. So it's nothing else outside of that. When I say we didn't have a Caucasian kid from elementary, middle school to high school, I never seen one. I'm serious. You know what I'm saying? So when that drive me for a whole loop. I didn't get the proper knowledge on my potential that I should have gotten.
Yeah, the cutting the security guard video off early is bad faith. I agree.
From their own experiences.
Yeah, they're going to teach me what they know.
Yeah,
So
that's why it's
because
important.
I know he watched the whole thing. I gotta say like that's not the best look.
A lot of kids that don't get out to travel and do certain things and never leave their neighborhood, when they finally do, it's a whole new world.
Exactly. So, when I write a record like that's me giving back. That's not for radio. That's not for people with money. That's for people that don't have nothing to live for, feel like don't have nothing to live for. You know what I'm saying? So it's really about me utilizing my platform and said, okay, is you gonna take the easy way out, or you gonna do what's your mission, what you're supposed to do? You feel me? And I'm on the hunt right now. I got a plan.
Change the mind.
The idea.
I cannot find this moment.
The misconception of everything is when people preach, they come from a standpoint to try to change the world. You can't change the world overnight. Kid always, you know what I'm saying? So I always say from my neighborhood first, at least to spark, okay, let's walk down the street, let's go down the block, let's show them a different, you know what I'm saying? They got relations with my other partner, now it's just like what we feed the people, you know what I'm saying? Hey, how much more can I do that? I love
Mad City, people didn't have those expectations. Nobody knew what to expect.
Yeah.
Expectations of
All right. Yeah, Kendrick, you know what I mean?
My crew.
The part where he like put
from my
music
crew,
over
right.
the clips of
Yeah,
him and
this the thing about
Angela Yee
music,
were really
man.
funny though.
The people that's talking all these guns and what they gonna do and what they gonna do, it's not reality for people that really do it.
Oh,
You know,
1430?
the people told me,
Bless. Thank you, Carmen. I appreciate you. I was about to watch this whole
special
thing.
though. So imagine how huge things can change over from a dramatic standpoint. Right. You know, and that comes with it. You got to deal with that.
Are there certain things too now? There was a shocking story about you, and I was like, there's no way this is true.
Wait. Damn, y'all. He really got it brought up.
Yeah.
When they said you were in Vegas and you beat some guy bloody and you did something to some female. And
you beat some guy bloody too? Yeah.
When they said you were in Vegas and you beat some guy bloody and you did something to some female.
Yeah.
And they said they had evidence and all of this. And then I never heard anything about it again.
Yeah, because it's foolishness. That's the most ignorant stuff I ever heard made up.
I was like, Kendrick did that? I doubt it.
And, you know, that person, whoever made that up, owes an apology. Not to me, but to women that actually go out there and get abused. You dig what I'm saying? That's a real issue. And to be putting a person name that stands for someone way more better, that's been raised way more better than that, that's not cool. There's people out there that really get abused, and there's women out there that get abused and don't say nothing and you know, live their lives through that. So that's
Because I was like, I'm sure if that happened, there'd have been a police report. You would have been arrested.
That's foolishness.
Yeah, he would have gotten
that's
arrested.
Ignorant. That's all the way ignorant.
Yeah.
To 100%.
In the words of Drake, I'm way too famous for the shit you just suggested. If I was beating on women, I promise I'd have been arrested.
When you hear things in the news, certain things I believe about artists. That story I didn't even.
No, but I think some shit like this, like at the Hard Rock Cafe, I feel like he definitely would have been arrested. And then if Diddy was actually there that weekend, and then it got cleared up, Like, I believe that Diddy would get away with that a lot faster than, like, a Kendrick who's, like, still on his way up in Vegas, of all places. Like, he's not in LA. Right? I guess the question is, there are, like, two sides to this, and it's, like, did it happen on the weekend it happened? Was that even Whitney? And then on top of that, like, did it happen at all? And I think when it comes to this, like, Hard Rock story, that is that narrative that the interview and Drake himself, by posting that video, and then What's the Dirt are alluding to, if it happened, it didn't happen there. I don't think it would happen there. I don't think it would even have been Whitney, because right now, Angela Yee's saying the story is, like, some man and a woman, like, if anything, like, an altercation with, like, another guy at the show. Yeah, like, too many witnesses. I don't know. And that security guard was not a witness. So that's where I'm gonna leave it right now. Y'all have any questions before I sign off? Anything else? I'm feeling good about that stream, though. I had a good time talking to y'all, watching that. Nah, I mean, I think it is a little shady, like, you didn't play the whole video. This I think definitely should have been played. This interview should have been played. I think so. I don't think it was ever Whitney either. But yeah, I'm gonna go get some food. What's for lunch? I don't know. About to find out. It's dinner at this point, though. Thank you guys for watching, though, for real. Appreciate y'all. It was, like, fun to do this and, like, actually have people, like, watch with me and everything. Shout out to all of y'all who were here since the beginning of the stream. I'll do this again more often. Just let me know if I'll post the whole VOD. If you guys want to let me know what else you'd want me to, like, talk about future streams in the comments, because I'm definitely down to do this. And just kind of, maybe when songs come out, I do a live breakdown first, before I put the actual breakdown. Maybe that's what we do. But appreciate y'all. Have a good rest of y'all's nights.